Released on the play by Blewett. Receiver downfield. It's
if he has good technique, he will be really. If his technique becomes great, not just good, then he's a Hall of Fame. Fighting through contact, fighting through offensive line, being a double team, multiple moves stacked into one, just a play of pure domination. It's actual film, it's actual football talk. It's a football show, it's about football, not storylines.
And you are listening to another edition of Blewett's Blitz Live with my friend Kyle Smith. Kyle, what is up?
Hey, Joe. How you doing, man? I'm certainly a little disappointed, as you already know. But
yeah,
other than that, I'm doing pretty good.
Talk about a lot of stuff. I don't know if you're disappointed because we were just mentioning that you wanted to get more filming of some of these guys, or if you're disappointed because of a certain somebody who's not on the Jets roster right now. But still good times. We're still pretty happy with what has gone on overall with the Jets. We'll talk about the free agent signings. We'll go through them with you, some of your thoughts. We're obviously going to talk about some of the recent happenings with Tyreek Hill, with some of the receiver plans that we may or may not have until the draft, some potential targets. We're going to talk about maybe a certain Jet on Twitter. Mentioned some of that stuff that's been going on recently. Still dealing with some like stupid lung stuff. So if you hear me cough, I apologize. If you hear me pause my mic and start hacking up a lung, I apologize. But I'm just dealing with a bunch of stupid bullshit right now. So that's my life. But other than that, Kyle, you're just fine. You're very like stern. I'm okay. You know, a little bit disappointed, but you didn't really. There's not a lot of personality into that. So how you really doing, Kyle?
Well, as you can see, I dislocated my finger about a month ago, and in playing basketball. And it's just, I was telling you before we
against
started recording.
Girls.
One girl, okay, but a big 6'4" behemoth, who, by the way, I caught on a pump fake and drove to the rim. Anyway,
oh my God.
So it's just funny, like, you know, playing offensive and defensive line in high school and playing defensive line in college. I never hurt my finger this bad. You're smashing into people every play and hitting people with your hands every play. But then I play a little game of basketball and my pinky's dislocated and I don't have much range of motion right now. So other than that, I'm doing pretty good.
You didn't have that thing on your finger all day and you came into the show. You're like, you know what? I'm gonna pull the sympathy card. I want all these people to see this. I'm going to mention it right away. I see what
I wasn't going to mention anything, but you're like, well, you're not showing your personality and stuff. So I was like, okay, well, I'll let you in my personal life. Okay. You want to know what's up? Here's what's up.
What's up, Chris, Eagle, Jeff, Steven, Mike, John, West Coast, Toy sub videos. I haven't seen that name before. Lloyd, a lot of people in here. A lot of people are excited, I would say, overall about the Jets offseason, which we'll give so far, I guess, a grade later, Kyle. We'll talk about kind of how we think Joe Douglas has went about this process, which I think we're both pretty confident in. I think there's one big hole right now that we're going to mention. And it's not necessarily the biggest hole in the world. It's not, it's not of years past. I'm not going to mention what it is, even though people already know. So I don't know really why I'm hiding it, but we're going to talk about that. Bunch of different things. We have Kyle and myself until about 9. So I'm going to do my absolute best to get to the chats. Not a shot in hell I could do it this time. So as always, I already saw a super chat in here, which I appreciate from Girth Brooks, one of our big supporters. Just $5. Let's go, boys. I appreciate that. I'll pull up on the screen. Again, appreciate you, Girth. I'm glad you're excited. I'm glad you're already throwing some money down. But again, obviously super chats help, and I will guarantee read every one of those unless I miss one like last week, which I apologize. But other than that, I'm like 9 out of 10 on a hit rate. And again, there's no way I can get to every chat tonight because we have to talk with Kyle. We got to get his opinions. We have to hit on a lot of different topics around free agency, which I blabbered by myself for about an hour last week, but I never talked to Kyle. So who don't expect much from today, apparently, because Kyle already said he's disappointed with his lack of getting filming of these guys. So Kyle, how much film did you get in? Let's be real here. Let's troll.
I watched probably in the hundreds of plays of Laken Tomlinson.
Okay. That's
I watched
99% more than other people, so that's good.
I watched one full game of Conklin versus the Rams in like week 16 or whatever. Coach's film, that is. I
Really?
watched one
Was it a
full
random
game of
game?
DJ Reed against
why
the
a
Niners
why a
late
random
in the
game?
season. And I started watching some Whitehead film in the playoff game.
Okay.
But that's about it, other than plays that people are throwing up on Twitter and highlight reels. Of course, I've seen those because everybody watches those.
Yeah.
But that's about it from the free agent class. It's been a little bit of a pain in the butt lately.
Yeah, I appreciate
But
it.
I'll definitely be more prepared before next week. But we got
2
you, and I'm always riding shotgun anyway. So
2 weeks. Yeah. I saw our subs went up by like 100 too. So that's awesome. Thank you everybody for the support there. But let's start with Tomlinson, Kyle, because that's the guy. And obviously I'm gonna get to main events. But I do want to at least run through some of these guys with Kyle, and then maybe with Kyle, it gives me an opportunity to pull up a player or two, which maybe I won't do. I don't really know. But Laken Tomlinson, 3 years, $27 million guaranteed. $42 million max, but I think it's 40. It's 440, but it could be 42 max. I think that's still what it is. I could be wrong there. But obviously coming from San Francisco, 30 years old, played in this system for years now. Has missed 1 game in his career, like I said, and that was due to him. I think when he was traded, he just wasn't ready. It wasn't him actually being injured. So you're looking at a guy who was super reliable in terms of just being on the field. And you're also looking at, a scheme fit in terms of at least knowing the system. So kicking off free agency with that signing, what'd you think about that one?
yeah, I really like that one. And especially when you compare his contract versus Scherf's contract, it seems to be the better signing overall. I would say that Scherf's is probably the better talent. I feel very confident in saying that. But I think the most attractive thing about Lakinson is the scheme fit, a good locker room guy, but most importantly, just that durability. I mean, it was like the last 6,000 something snaps, he's missed 2 just because of a quote unquote shoe malfunction. So, I mean, the guy is never missing games. And for linemen, I mean, other than probably running back, what position gets beat up more and tends to miss games more, right? Because just freak injuries happen all the time. Like, just think about Becton, right? Right, he got rolled up on. I mean, that happens all the time. I mean, and it could happen to Laken, but there is so much to be said for durability. So I like that a lot. I will say that watching his film, I probably thought he was a bit of a better player. I was a little bit disappointed. I don't know. Did you agree with that?
Yeah, and I was going to say that, and I don't want to be like the Debbie Downer, but again, and this is why, and people came here last week. I'm going to get through some of the chats. I didn't get through anybody really, so I'm going to pull up you guys in a second. So I kind of did go right to the topic, so I apologize. I'll get to you guys quickly after this. But, again, people want the honest, like me to be as honest as I can and you to be honest as you can. I think he's a little bit overrated by fans. I think people are thinking that he's going to come in and be one of the top 3 to 5 right guards in the league for the Jets. I wouldn't expect that. I think he's more in that 8 to 12 range, maybe 6 at best. But I like the consistency. I like the fact that he doesn't miss games, which is part of the consistency. I like the scheme fit. He's not the best mover. I would say he's okay in pass protection. I would say his run blocking is solid, but it's inconsistent as well. His movement isn't great. His movement on the second level isn't great. His hand placement isn't great. He doesn't create as much movement as you think a guy who is as strong as he is would. So I think he's a solid player. But if you're thinking top 5 right guard in the league, you're off base. I think again, nearing that top 10, 8 to 12 range. I hate putting like labels on it, but I think people like to think in labels, and it kind of like allows them to like contextualize what they're looking at with this player. Not really overly nervous about him switching to right guard because he played there in college. But again, I wouldn't just go into this thinking that he's one of the best guards in the league, locked down, going to maul people. And to be completely honest, there are some plays where he is mauling guys. There are some plays, and I put it in his weaknesses. His motor can be hot and cold sometimes.
I completely agree with that.
In terms of giving up on a play a little bit too early or mauling a guy, there are some times where he kind of taps out early. He has a few plays where he's pancaking guys, driving them to the ground. But then there's also plays where he comes into his run blocks with really wide hands and really high hands, and he's pretty much just going chest to shoulder, chest to chest with a guy, head to chest, and not really getting ideal hand placement or hip roll into that block, and he's not creating much movement. And then with that being said, again, I think he climbs to the second level well in terms of how he does it, in terms of like, staying pretty patient with his feet. But if you're asking him to adjust to a linebacker really quickly or run out on a screen, he's not overly athletic for the system. It's more lower tier than you'd expect for the system. So I like the signing. Don't get me wrong, because it helps out Zach. It completes the offensive line. But if your expectation is top 3, top 5 guard, I think you're definitely off base. And I just watched. I don't think I did every game because I watched like the first 2 and I recorded like 30 plays. I'm like, holy shit! And I was just going to record it the other day, Kyle, which we'll talk about in this other situation in a second. Was just about to go to record. Actually, I was going to go for a run. I was just going to record it right after. Tyreek Hill trade rumors. And then obviously it didn't happen. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, do I really want to talk about Lake and Tomlinson right now for 3 hours? I'm like, I can't do it. I just couldn't do it. So then I pushed it off. But you guys will see. I think I have 7 or 68 plays of him, which I know a lot of you aren't going to watch. But yeah, kind of rambled on a little bit about Tomlinson right there. But I guess just add on to whatever.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with everything you said. Another thing I noticed with him too is sometimes like he's just willing to play patty cake with his drag arm instead of rolling his hips and getting in front of the guy and using more of his body. I mean, he's not a small dude, and we're talking about 323 pounds, something like that. I think that's his weight. So I don't know. There are some underwhelming moments in his film, to be sure. I will say that I have to watch more of his pass protection because I was pretty much watching hundreds of clips of him running outside of the Niners running outside zone plays because I had a lot of that stuff queued up already.
Yeah.
So, and in terms of the scheme fit thing, I feel like this is something where he was a guy who kind of, made rosters, but like, I don't know. I mean, like, how did the 49ers even come to acquire him? Right. Like, I think when they did acquire him, they didn't have high expectations for him.
Yeah.
But because he was always on the field and he was such a good locker room guy, he kind of played for them all the time and kind of got used to the scheme. But like, if I was drafting this guy out of college, I wouldn't think to myself like, oh, he's a good scheme fit. I think he's only a good scheme fit because he's been in the scheme before, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, like you'd think like, okay, he's a great like scheme fit means he's uber athletic and can reach guys and could scooch tech guys and reach a 3 or whatever it may be. But he's definitely not the most athletic for doing that. Like he's not like think of Fant. Like Fant is a perfect scheme fit. You draft Linderbaum, which they're not perfect scheme fit, like really athletic guys. Like people are saying like how athletic he is. He's not that athletic. Like he's athletic in his own right because of his power, which he doesn't always use necessarily correctly. But yeah, no, he's not great in terms of scheme fit. But I want to bring up a super chat or two. Then I'll go back up through the chat and hit some stuff. But I hope I'm not pronouncing this wrong, but it's Savanchu Prasad. I think I'm getting that right. I don't know if I've seen you before, but welcome if it's your first time. Unless you just change your name. He said, you said receiver isn't worth first round. If we wait too long, what if we're stuck with riskier prospects? The next Hanson, Stewart, Mims. I like the way you're thinking, Savanchu, there, because like, again, everybody thinks that Dotson's going to be the next, best guy and Watson's going to be this next guy. But realistically, we've seen Devin Smiths, we've seen Stephen Hills, and I have more faith in Douglas than that. But I'm just saying, be realistic. What should the Jets do? So I'll throw it to you, Kyle. First, do we just draft the receiver at 10 with how free agency shaking out? And we'll get into that later too. But I guess, obviously want to hit on it now too, because Savanchu was kind enough to throw $5, which I appreciate. So do we just grab London at 10? Do we just grab Wilson at 10, which Wilson is like, he's that new and I hate like saying this, but he's like that new cool guy to like everybody likes Wilson. Like no, there's not many people who don't, which fine. But I want to hear based like a good reasoning for it. To me, London is pretty clearly above him. Kyle, I know that you watched the film review I did on both those guys, and you watched on your own as well. So for us, it's probably London at 10 if we were going to draft a receiver. And that's the only guy who I would feel relatively comfortable with. So how do you respond to this question?
Yeah, but the only reason we're really even having this conversation right now is because we just haven't gotten that other receiver yet that we were hoping to have by this point. We didn't get Godwin. We didn't get Ridley. We didn't get Amari Cooper. We haven't gotten Cooks. We haven't gotten any of these guys we've been talking about for weeks now. So now, okay, we're going to force a receiver at the 10th pick. It's not the smartest choice, and that's why we've been kind of pushing the whole let's get a receiver, via trade or signing one. So, and whenever you get yourself into drafting based on need, especially early in the draft, you're getting yourself into dangerous territory and you're reaching. And when you reach, teams that reach consistently based on need always have less talent on their rosters overall. It's just a fact. And it's why you see teams like, for example, the Giants for years, they would consistently draft pass rushers, even though they didn't have a big need at pass rusher. Okay. But, so they might have been overloaded at one position, so to speak. But they did win 2 Super Bowls, and made a couple playoff appearances mixed in between. So I'm not okay. Yeah, I am legitimately concerned that we're not going to properly give Zach the amount of weapons that he needs to succeed in year 2. That's a legitimate concern. I'd be lying if I said it wasn't a concern. But I'm not going to force a receiver at the 10th pick just for that reason, right? Depending on how draft grades end up turning out, do I maybe consider possibly trading back and acquiring more picks and still thinking I can get one of those receivers who I like several picks later? Yeah, maybe that comes into consideration more. But still right now, if I'm thinking at 10, based on what I've seen about Carl Loftus potentially being there or Walker potentially being there, I would take either of those 2 guys at 10 over any receiver at this point in time.
How would the board have to fall for you to take a receiver at 10? So let's say they get the edge rusher at 4. They get however you feel about. I'm not staking putting my flag on anybody right now. I'm just saying they get a D end. Let's say they get Walker, Johnson, whoever, Thibodeaux at 4. How would the board have to fall for you to take a receiver at 10?
So the Jets drafted one of those guys at 4.
Yep.
An edge rusher. And at 10, Sauce is not there, right?
Okay.
I'm asking you.
Well,
You're giving me the scenario.
Well, I'm asking you how the board would have to fall, so you give me the scenario.
Well, if Sauce is there, I'm definitely taking Sauce.
Undoubtedly.
There's no question about it. I mean, I would take him at 4. I've said that for a month and a half now, which now it's funny. And I quote tweeted and tagged you in the tweet last night. It seems that people are kind of coming around to Sauce at 4 as being a smart pick. Well, we were saying that a month and a half ago. A lot of people still seemed like, you guys seem like you're reaching a little bit.
You can't take them there. Now everybody's like, take them there. Yep.
Yeah. So you take good players wherever you can get them, especially, with him, high floor, high ceiling. That's how I look at it. Yeah. Okay. So, if the board broke to the point where I can't get Sauce and all the edge rushers that I like, and I don't like Johnson that much, all of them are gone, then I might consider taking a receiver at 10. But I actually try to trade back first. So I guess does that answer your question?
Is it London for you?
Yeah.
Now,
it is London.
My problem is the difference between London and Wilson and whoever else. I don't know if I'm willing to take the risk of, okay, we'll trade down to 15, 16 and then grab Wilson instead of London at 10. I don't know if that's worth it to me. And Savanchu asks kind of the same thing with this. Should we take the best wide receiver and not mess around? For me, like Kyle said, it depends on how the board falls. To me, I think Sauce is a very, 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 very realistic option at 4, just based on how I felt for months before the combine even happened, which again, the review will come out that there's timestamps. I say that before the combine. I think he's a very realistic option because right now, Sauce is my number 2 player on the board in a vacuum. It's Hutchinson in terms of just being the best player. Hutchinson, Sauce, 2. Right now, we're talking about positional value. Okay, maybe I move him down for the Jets. But it depends on how the Jets feel about other players. Like, what if they don't like Thibodeaux? Okay, so they don't like Thibodeaux. Let's assume Walker goes. So now you're sitting there with either Johnson, Karlaftis, or Sauce, or maybe or maybe it is Walker versus Sauce. Like, I'm the most comfortable out of all those guys taking Sauce. So are you going to reach for a D end when you're more comfortable with Sauce? I don't know if the Jets do. I'm not saying they do one thing or the other, but I could realistically see it being Sauce at 4, especially when you consider the quarterbacks in the AFC. The receivers now in the AFC East, obviously Tyreek Hill now, Jalen Waddle, Stephon Diggs, all these freaking guys. Like, you need a good corner. And he more than again, feel how you want about Thibodeaux. That's more for the Jets to decide than me. But
Hey, can you
but,
put Aaron's comment on the screen? I know you like to go in order, but
yeah,
he's kind of calling us out, but I think he's off base.
I don't know where he is.
6:21 p.m. Aaron Quinones.
Okay, but that's way far down. I'm going to scroll back up.
But it's on topic though.
Okay.
So
Harrison, who? Aaron?
Aaron Quinones. Okay. Yeah, you were also saying no way we take a corner when they were mocking Stingley to us. Yeah, here's the difference. We had heard about Stingley's injury concerns, and how am I going to take a guy at 4 with all these red flags in terms of injury concerns? So there's the big difference.
Yeah.
between-
With that being said, too, I've never seen Aaron, so I don't know if he even watches this or comments a lot. And I've been consistent. Sauce is an option at 4 for at least 2 months. So the people who have been here for a while, I'm sure can attest to that. So that's bullshit. But yeah, no, I don't want Stingley at 4. There's no way. The corner at 4 has to be worth it. You know, people are talking about Stingley forever, and I said with Stingley, which came to fruition, be patient because these guys move up and down the boards drastically throughout the college season. And now people are talking, if I asked you guys a year ago, hey, we're going to take Stingley at 4, a lot of guys would have shit their pants being so freaking happy. Now, if I told those same people, hey, we're going to take him at 10, they'd be like, I don't really think we should take him at 10. So that's a lot of where I was at with Stingley, but no, I never, I don't really know what he's trying to say there, but that's, whatever. Going through some of these chats, we kind of hit about Laken Tomlinson. Again, there would be some players that I talk about who I really, really like for the money. Laken Tomlinson, I like him. Is he the 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th best guard or right guard in the league? I think he's much more closer to that than he is top 5. He's not. He's not. His film is not elite. There's no way. It is. Lloyd, how we feeling? What's up, man?
He's not even elite in any one area.
No, he's not an elite run blocker either. I think, and his pass blocking is sometimes it's spotty. I would say it's inconsistent, his pass blocking, in terms of like picking up stunts and blitzes. And then there are times where he's reaching a little bit for contact, and you'll see his hands get swatted because there's just way too much space, and way too much extension into that block. And then there's times where he waits, throws his hands with good timing. So I'd say inconsistency, in terms of that. But, what's up, Michael Defino? Yeah. What's up, Mike? Appreciate that. Depressing week, says Verge. We'll talk about that in a little bit. I'm sure I know why. Afram, what's up? Moving through. I can't do all this. This is for you, Kyle. Hey, Kyle, I am 34 and just tore my meniscus in my left knee. Getting up from the couch, had surgery last Thursday. Oh, that sucks.
Dude, Michael, I know about tearing meniscus. I did that in high school. I actually did it in the preseason before my senior year and played the whole season on it. But my knee would swell up with fluid, and every now and then I'd have to like get it drained during the season. It sucked, and then I had to get a meniscus repair surgery after that, and then I got a staph infection from the surgery. So, not fun. I feel your pain.
The death taxes. Kyle Smith gloating about beating children in basketball. Love that one, Lloyd. That's one of my favorite chats.
Yeah, that was hilarious. I laughed
Hawks. Seattle's officially taking offers on DK Metcalf. The Chiefs and Packers reportedly sent offers. Hawks. So I saw this too, but it was from a guy he had like 42,000 followers on Twitter. I never saw it by anybody big, kind of reiterate that. So I'm not sure how much I would buy into that. And then I think people said Samini today mentioned AJ Brown on his podcast, like, hey, big extension next year. Maybe if talk's still out, the Jets can trade for him too. I don't know. Jets gang, that means both of our guards are in the top 10. How can we complain? I'm not complaining at all about that. I'm giving you guys my honest assessment. I'm just trying to say, okay, he's not the best guard in the league. He's not top 5. I think him being, let's say, the 8th or 9th best guard in the right guard in the league is completely fine. Like there was plenty of time when we didn't have a guy who was above average on the entire line. Like now we're looking at Laken Tomlinson, who's above average, solid player. AVT, who I'd expect to be in the top half of the league in guards next year. Fant, who's a solid tackle. Becton, if he's healthy, solid tackle. And then McGovern, who I would say is average to slightly above average at center. Like you're looking at one of the better offensive lines in the league. Like you're looking at what I would expect. Like Kyle, I'll ask that to you. Like I would expect this Jets team, based like however you want to rank them, but you'd think they'd be near the top 10, if not in the top 10 in offensive lines in the league, assuming Becton comes back and is healthy. Obviously, if he's not, different story. But assuming health, you think they're near top 10, if not top 10, right?
Yes, definitely. And there's a lot to be said for having above average offensive linemen.
Yeah.
Because sometimes when you get that one hole in the line, take GVR, for example, last year, right? He was the only really big hole that they had in the offensive line, but he was killing them at certain points during certain games last year. So I would, yeah, so I do expect the Jets to be around top 10, but I will say though about Tomlinson, I don't want, I'm not one of these guys that grinds offensive line tape for every single team and knows every single guy really that well. But just upon watching his film, I find it hard to believe that he is top 10. I would say he's below top 10 is my general
For
assumption.
Leggy
on the
Tomlinson?
thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think he's top 10. Because I saw one person say, you know, how can we complain if we have two guards that are in the top 10? Well, AVT's not there yet, although I do expect him to get there.
Okay.
But Tomlinson, I don't think he's top 10.
Yeah. What's up? Gangrene Goliath. People are saying that's Lima Bean. I don't know who is Lima Bean.
I don't know either. I was confused.
Yo, Lima Bean. Who is Lima Bean? So, okay, somebody tell me in the chat who is Lima Bean. Hawk, if Joe Blitz says London, you shut your fucking mouth and take London. I appreciate that, Hawk. Yeah, it's just like, and the thing about London too is like the narrative of him, Kyle. Which tell me if this is just true or false, and you could elaborate a little bit if you want. London is a contested catch guy, and he can't run routes.
He most certainly can run routes. He has a wide variety of releases at the line of scrimmage. Definitely, his releases are definitely much better than Garrett Wilson's. They ran him on many different types of routes. And what was the last thing you said besides route running?
He's just a contested catch guy. I think that's
I think he's pretty good with the ball in his hands too. So I don't think that's true at all.
Yeah, no, people, he's on a yak guy too. And like the thing is, and this is another question I'll ask you, and I'll be very specific because then people will be like, oh my God, Garrett Wilson has the ability, I'll say it again slowly, to be a better route runner because of his physical makeup than Drake London. Drake London right now, in terms of the technique, in terms of the releases, in terms of getting into his stop steps, in terms of being over his knee, is a better route runner easily than Garrett Wilson right now. Easily by technique. Kyle, agree or disagree?
I totally agree with that.
Okay.
Yeah, well, and Wilson, there's times when, you know, you press him at the line of scrimmage and he's letting guys get right into his chest and stuff. So he needs some work. I mean, he has special abilities.
Mm-hmm.
I almost want to think, like, do you think that he has maybe the higher ceiling than London? Maybe. Possibly.
Yeah. I think if he hits his ceiling, yeah, sure. Because I compared his movement skills to Odell Beckham, you know, so I think he's more explosive than he is. He's more of an athlete than London is. So if you tell me,
I think London definitely has the higher floor for sure. Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. But if you're telling me both guys hit their absolute ceiling, you know, I think that it's Garrett Wilson because of his explosiveness, where London, you know, like people say, okay, he doesn't have the highest ceiling, but if he's Mike Williams, a healthy Mike Williams for the rest of his career, we're going to take that any day of the week. And I think he's much more of a safe player than those guys. So I'm more comfortable with him. And again, the fact that you just think, okay, he's just a contested catch guy, that proves to me you've watched absolutely nothing of him, and you just follow the herd. Like I couldn't, you couldn't be more wrong. So Jets gang, or actually, no, sorry, I just skipped Gin Polk on that one. Choice between Sauce or KT, who do you take? So to kind of cop out of that, whatever. I don't know if it's cop or comp, to be completely honest. It depends on the Jets. If the Jets feel comfortable with KT, it's KT because of his upside, and the fact that he plays a more important position. But to be honest, Sauce is the better player than KT, even without the whatever you think about the mental stuff. Again, I'm not taking a side either way. But individually, Sauce is better than him, but I'm taking a risk on KT if the Jets are comfortable with him, which they might not be. There might be people who don't have him on their board. I can't really speak for the Jets staff. So,
yeah, I mean, when someone asks this question, they're asking you as if you are the Jets. So I'm not going to answer it like you did. Oh, if the Jets are comfortable. If someone's asking me, I mean, like, will I watch more of both players pre-draft? Yes, I will. But what I've watched so far, Sauce is definitely the better player. And upon further watching of KT, I came back disappointed. So there's not even a second thought in my mind who I would take there.
So to be really simple with this question, George, Wilson is the better athlete. He has more explosive ability. He has a really intriguing like body control, catch radius type deal. But London, in terms of pretty much every aspect of technical route running, is better than Wilson. Like, what is Wilson better at London than other than athleticism? Not much, in my opinion. Whether it be square cuts, slants, winning vertically. Wilson's not consistent getting off press coverage. Like if you're telling me, hey, Wilson's going to get drafted, he's playing outside, he's playing X for you, I'm not confident. Like he needs to be a slot guy initially because he really struggles getting off a press. Opens his chest up a lot. He will leap into stop steps, which we talk about in the film reviews, which is a big problem for not rounding your routes out. So London is better in mainly, if not every single aspect of route running, minus physical capabilities in terms of explosion, lateral movement. I don't know if you have anything to add on that, Kyle.
Yeah, and one thing that you mentioned in your film review for Wilson is that it appears that he has good yak ability, but I just didn't see it enough at his time at Ohio State. So, which is a big, it's a big important part of this offense to have a guy who can make yards after the catch. I just didn't see it enough to the point where I'm thinking like, okay, I'm going to take this guy in the top 10 and I envision him using him in this way. And I want to get the ball in his hands in space. So he has a lot of, room to run. I didn't see it enough to the point where I think like he's even better in that aspect than London. So, yeah.
So this is very, very easy question for me. Cecilio, would you trade the 4th overall for DK and the 9th overall?
Oh yes,
I would drive it to Seattle literally right now and take off of work tomorrow. Like, what are we talking about? They move 5 spots for DK Metcalf. Like, come on. NY Bully, appreciate the $10 super chat for sure. What's up with Joe and Kyle? Any chance that we could trade pick 10 for DK, swap picks 4 and 9 to Seattle as part of the trade competition since we already fleeced them? Would that make sense for us? So we're talking about
who floated this idea around? Because we just saw back-to-back chats where somebody's talking about moving from 4 to 9. Is that like
4 to 9?
Like Samini put this out there or something?
So basically we trade pick 10 for DK and then we trade down from 4 to 9. Oh, hold on. So are you saying I'm not sure if you're just better at reading than me? Are you
let me read it. What's up, Joe? Any chance that we could trade pick 10 for DK and swap picks 4, 9?
So 10 and trade down from 4 to 9. I think that's a little bit too much, to be honest.
Okay, yeah, I'm getting it now.
Yeah, because what we're talking about, the difference between 4 and 9 is probably like a first round pick or a second round pick. So you're talking about a first and a second round pick. I think it's probably a little bit too much.
I wouldn't want to do that.
Yeah, that's a little bit too much, especially when you see which Tyreek Hill just went for and all that stuff.
Yeah, we were talking about trading 10 for DK a couple of weeks ago, and I hesitatingly said I would do it, but I wasn't, banging the table for it. I wasn't like you were saying, oh, I'll drive the pick to Seattle,
10?
So
I would do it.
I would do it for 10, but I'm saying if I got to do it for 10 and move back 5 spots, because at 4, I feel like I'm going to be able to get Icky or Sauce, like a premium guy there.
Mm-hmm.
But at 9, probably a good chance one of those guys won't be there.
Yeah, no, I'm just trying to find whoever this. I think he maybe bailed out of the chat. I'll see him again, but this guy is just we have a troll. So if you see the troll, guys, if you're a moderator, I would appreciate. We're trying to make some more moderators. If you see him, please ban him because just send out some stupid comments. West Coast Jets, we need Sauce to face Hill. Diggs, just Sauce in caps. Thanks for the super chat, West Coast. Yeah, like I have no qualms with them taking him at 4. And especially when you consider the guys who could be there at 10 as a pass rusher. Now it's a risk to do that because, do you want to risk an important or a position that is that important, Jesus, for Sauce at 4? I think it's probably worth the risk at this point, to be completely honest, because I'm much more comfortable with Sauce at 4 and let's say Karloff is at 10 than I am with, I think Walker is going before 10. I really do, based on all the buzz. So let's just say Walker or KT at 4, and then, whoever else is going to be there at 10. It's not going to be Sauce. I've been hearing some rumblings that the Jets really like Hamilton as well. So would you rather have, let's say, Walker at 4 and Hamilton at 10, or Sauce at 4, Karloff at 10? I'd much rather take the latter, to be completely honest. And I think Sauce is like a statement, like the way he plays, what he's about. I think he's a statement to your franchise. So moving on.
I'm not interested in Hamilton at 10. I would rather take a receiver at 10 than Hamilton.
Yeah, if it's like a London or something like that. Jets.
Would you rather take Garrett Wilson than Hamilton? Because I think I probably would.
That's hard. NY Jets, Florida, can we stop already with trading for wide receiver? I think it's pretty relevant considering yesterday they just tried to trade all they did for Tyreek Hill and set him to like the biggest receiver contract in the NFL. So I think there's a reason we talked about that. Kyle and I agree the entire offseason they should do it. They looked into Cooper. They just looked into a top 5 receiver in the NFL. So I think it's relatively prevalent. Like we're assuming that right now the Jets were holding back a little bit because they were waiting for Hill. That's something that just popped up at 11:30 for the Jets, and it was over by 12:30. They were negotiating apparently for at least a week or two, or looking into it for a week or two. I think it's like March 12th or something like that. They talked about it, so we're talking about almost 2 weeks. So maybe the Jets didn't, trade for somebody else because they were hoping for Hill. Now they probably transition. Maybe they transition into a Cooks or to some other guys we'll talk about later. So I think it's kind of relevant to talk about receiver. I don't know if maybe I'm off base. So. Cool with that, NY Bully. So I'm gonna work through some chats and read them off.
I'd assume he's just upset. He's upset that we haven't got one of these guys by this point, so it's his way to cope.
So Kyle, next guy who signed, who we think that this price is, or we thought at least that this price was like right at the very tippy top that we'd pay, if not just not sign him back. Berrios, 2 years, $12 million, $7 million guaranteed. Thoughts on it initially, and obviously now as you've had some time to wait on it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it was what, $500,000 over that line in the sand that we drew, so to speak. So I can't like be super mad at it, but it's not like he broke the bank or anything. So okay, whatever, cool. Next, I mean, like, I'm glad they got a guy who can do some gadgety trick things, good locker room guy, and I really liked what he did on punt returns. So I'm happy to have him back.
Mm-hmm.
I really hope that he can take another step as a receiver because guys get hurt. You're never going to have your full receiver core for an entire year. So if he has to step in a game and play a good amount of snaps, I'd really like to see him, take a step up as a receiver, especially if we're paying him that money. So
yeah, I think to be honest, like I think the pay, I'm more happy with it because of what he meant to the locker room. Like you could see like JFM come out and Elijah Moore come out and Zach Wilson, like all these people. I think just based on what he does on a football field, it's a little bit of an overpay. I think he's more deserving of like $4.5–5 million. But am I going to lose my shit over $1 million–1.5 million? No, not really. It's a fine signing, but I think again, ideally, he's a backup slot, backup gadget guy, and then somebody who's a really good returner, both in punt and kick returns. So somebody says Lima Bean in a lot of Jets content videos, especially green beans. But who is Lima Bean? I haven't seen Lima Bean. Am I losing my mind, or have you seen Lima Bean?
Lima Bean is, I think the one guy who's done a couple super chats already tonight. Prasad, last, yeah. I'm pretty sure that's it.
Lima Bean.
Well, he claimed that he's Lima Bean. So,
okay, well, hello, Lima Bean. BPA can backfire. That's how we kept drafting D tackles for years. Quinnen was the best pick, but the right pick was DeAnd Allen. I'm not going to get into that because I don't. Yeah,
is Allen a better player than Quinnen right now? Because I don't think so. I have not been impressed by him. Sorry,
I would still take Q, even looking back over Josh Allen. I think it's more BPA at a position of need. Like they're not going to take Jordan Davis at 10 right now, but you're looking at corner and the end. They're both needs, so take one. And I get people are going to say, "Oh, well, Bryce Hall, what happens with him?" But you're not going to skip on a guy in Sauce Gardner who you think could be a legitimate number 1 top flight cornerback for Bryce Hall, who I think proved himself to be a average number 2 corner last year. Like I think he can still improve, but you're not going to skip on Sauce because you're worried about Bryce Hall. It's just we have to start having some superstar players. So I get it, and I appreciate it, the super chat, Lima Bean. But yeah, to me, it's BPA at a position of need or a relative position of need. They draft a Jordan Davis at 10. I'm going to lose my shit because they have Q. So Aaron. London is a freak. I totally see him deserving top 10. And people will mention, oh, well, he's going to run a 4.6. Okay, Cooper Kupp did. Like DeAndre Hopkins, what was his 40 time? What is Mike Evans' 40 time? Like it's not I think
D Hop was like late 4.57, something like that. Wasn't good.
Yeah, it was. I don't think maybe not that low, but I'm Lima Bean. It was a response to Green Bean. All right, what's up? Nice to meet you, Lima Bean. Why don't you? I wonder why he doesn't change his actual like handle or whatever to Lima Bean. Okay, so Kyle, pass Berrios. Next deal that we'll talk about a little bit or enough. CJ Uzomah, 3 years, $24 million. 6'6", 260. What is he, like 29, 30 years old?
29 years old, yeah.
15 million guaranteed. What are your thoughts on him?
I didn't get a chance to watch him yet, and I really did want to because I had. And by the way, D Hopkins is 4.57. Just so you know, I got the number exactly right.
Nice.
I like when you make your face, like you do this kind of face.
I read that.
No.
The tape show that Wilson definitely gets more separation than London.
Okay.
Other than when he's trying to get off the press and he gets jammed and he can't continue running his route, but yeah, sure.
Okay, so Uzomah, I don't know, man. Like every time I watch the guy, I don't feel like he moves very well, but I guess he's pretty good at breaking tackles because he is kind of a load. But I don't know, man. Like I don't feel like he's a very athletic tight end who's going to go up and get a ball and has like a good amount of ball skills. I don't think he's a crisp route runner or anything. I don't know anything about his blocking, so I'm hoping that you can fill me in there. But I've been on the show for weeks saying like, we were talking about obviously tight end is a big need, and we were looking at the guys who were going to be available. And I said on numerous occasions that I did not want any part of him. I didn't know he's apparently this great locker room guy and all this kind of stuff. And he has these motivational speeches, which were mostly just profanity-laced speeches, but whatever, that's cool. Can you fill me in? What are your thoughts about him? And how's his blocking? I like the fact that they got 2 tight ends, because we know they're going to run a lot of 12. Dude, so I like that. And hopefully they draft another one too.
I think the pass blocking is really good, for sure. The run blocking, just because of his size, he can definitely get caught in the chest a little bit. But overall, I think he's a good pass blocker, a decent run blocker. I like his. I don't think he's like the most like agile, like laterally explosive type guy. But I think he's, in terms of like his vertical speed for a guy who's 6'6", 260, I think it's solid, or good. Good locker room guy, obviously, like people have been talking about. So I think he's worth the price. Like I think $7-8 million for this guy for a couple of years. He's not like you're looking at his contract versus like a Zach Ertz or a Evan Ingram or a David Njoku. Like I didn't really consider Uzomah, but now that we have him, I think he's better than those 3 guys I listed over him in terms of fit for the system right now. So you worried a little bit about the injuries. But overall, yeah, I think decent blocker overall, and a guy who is a good yak guy for sure. I think he's definitely a better yak guy than Conklin. And people mention Conklin yak. I don't know if I've seen him break a tackle. I think he's broken 1 or 2 tackles I've been watching. He's definitely not a good yak guy, but I really, really like Conklin. So don't misconstrue that. But no, I like Uzomah. I like the signing. Moving on though, and I'm keep working to the chat, but the next move that we made, or the next 2 moves we made, you can kind of hit them at once. Re-signing Coleman for $1.5 million, and then they re-signed Joyner for what I thought was near 4, but it really ended up being $2.6 million. So what do you think about those 2 re-signs for the Jets, bringing back to one Jet who I would say was more than just a Jag last year, and then a Jet who played like 5 snaps for us against the Panthers and he got injured, and then we were left with Sheldrick Redwine and all those guys.
I really like the Tevin Coleman re-signing. He's never going to play 16 games, I don't think. He's just not the most durable dude in the world. But when you watched him last year, he never had like a 50, 60-yard run, I don't think. But there was a decent amount of like 20-ish yard runs, 15-yard runs where he was just one little shoelace tackle away from springing one. So he still has explosiveness and obviously familiarity with the system. So for $1.5 million, I like it. And, running backs, yeah, if you get one of those Derrick Henry guys where you can run him into the ground, sure, cool. But there's very few of those guys in the league. So I kind of just like when you have a guy who can fit your system, get the job done, and you're paying him pennies. I think that's the best way to go about it. So I really like that. Joyner, I could care less for it. I mean, they sure as heck need safety depth, but I don't really think that I wasn't impressed by his film. He didn't play at all last year, so, do we even know that he's going to be good?
I'd rather have him at $2.6 million than go into the draft with just Whitehead. Like I think he's worth $2.6 million. Like if he has to play free safety in a pinch, I don't think it's that bad of a contract. Now, if he's getting $5, $6, $7 million, I think it's a different conversation. But I'm fine with him at the price. I think he's worth that price. Even if he comes in, even if they draft whoever you guys like, Brisker, Scene, the guy from Baylor, like whoever it is, then I'm fine with him. I'm happy with him as a 3. Starting, not really. I still think starting safety is a need, but I'm not going to lose my shit if Joyner's a safety or starting versus guys we had last year, Red Wine and whoever else. I can't even name them. Wilson and all these jokes. So,
well, your boy was starting a couple games at the end of the season there.
Who's my boy?
Our boy from Pitt.
Oh, Pinnock, yeah.
Yeah.
Drake London is at a tight end. Okay, so is Mike Williams. Then I don't get it. So next move, or next kind of sum of moves. Fadokasi, Jags, 10 per for 3 years. You had May to the Saints, 3 years, $28 million, which is kind of surprising. That's kind of a lot for him. $9 million coming off all the things he's coming off of. Moses to the Ravens for $5 million for 3 years. I'm not sure what was guaranteed. I forget exactly, but
I wasn't that surprised that May got that money.
$9 million for May. I'd rather have Jordan Whitehead for what he.
Oh, I'm not saying that I'd rather have May for that amount of money versus Whitehead for the amount of money he got. I'm just saying, like, May had several good years of pretty good tape, and he was an early second-round pick. Yeah, he's coming off a big injury, and is he the youngest dude in the world? No, but I mean, you could argue, okay, yeah, his comments publicly, is he the best locker room guy? But I think most people would say he was a good locker room guy overall. I don't think we should be. We were talking about $12 million for him before the injury. So all of a sudden now, he's getting an average of 9, and that's too high? I don't think so.
What are your Burks will be an all-pro receiver, Kyle. And I like Joe, but he likes Burks a lot. There's a reason that people are talking about at 10, and now he's dropping down. People are like, oh, well, maybe you can get him in a second.
That's a hot take. So listen, if you're going to say a hot take like that, provide more context. Why? Why is he going to be a all-pro receiver?
Yeah. I heard the rumors of him at 10, or like people talking about him at 10. I watched it, and Kyle, I was very early on, like, absolutely no freaking way. I'm taking this guy at 10. There's a lot more problems than you think with him. Didn't run a lot of routes, gave up on routes, gave up blocking assignments. Route running is extremely raw. He's literally all projection, and I'm not even overly impressed with his physical capabilities. Like, people always Debo. He runs the ball nothing like Debo. Debo will fight for half of a millimeter. You see Burks ducking out of bounds, we can get him 3-4 yards. Like, I'm not about Burks at all. So moving on to another one. From NY Bully, appreciate it, NY Bully. Consistent supporter. Is a trade back from 4 to the Steelers at 20, so they could draft Wills, a real thing people, or Willis, people keep talking about. We would get a haul back for them. I don't see Willis as a prospect that warrants that type of capital, because you're talking about probably at least this, obviously the 20th pick, and then 2 years of first round picks. You're looking at trading at getting for that, right? I don't know how like, what would that be on the value chart? I don't even know.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have that chart memorized that well, but he's talking about Malik Willis, right? The quarterback from Liberty?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, if I'm moving back that far, the Steelers would have to give me a lot. And they certainly need a quarterback. I don't think Mitch Trubisky is going to be the answer there.
The difference is 1,000 points. So you're looking at least another first round pick, and then you're getting for a quarterback. So probably like a first and a second round pick ish. You're looking, so you get their next year's first and maybe this year's second to move back that far.
Yeah, I would definitely not do it for less than that.
Yeah,
if I'm moving back that far,
that's a little bit far to move back. It depends on who's on the board. Like, I'm much more willing to trade back from 10 than 4, because is it Sauce there? Like, am I willing to pass up on Sauce? I don't know. That's a lot. But
the 1 year we had the 20th pick, the 1 year 2016 draft where we took Darren Lee, and a bunch of us were talking about trying to trade up to get either Goff or Wentz or any other quarterback that went that early. And I remember a lot of people saying, like, it's just too hard to move up that high. I mean, yeah, you can do it. I guess the Chiefs moved from like late 20s up to 10 to take Mahomes, but you do have to give up a lot. The Steelers don't strike me as an organization that really likes to give up a lot of draft capital. So,
so just hit on
they did give away a first rounder to get the safety from the Dolphins, Minka. So who knows? I guess it's possible.
Just to hit on this quickly. Well, hey, dude, honestly, like getting just balls to the wall crazy right here. If they want to trade up that much, then guess who has to be involved in that deal for me? Do you have any idea?
Wait, don't TJ Watt.
No, Deontay Johnson at the minimum. Right? Is that the name, Deontay Johnson, the receiver?
The receiver, number 18, right? Number 18, right?
Yep. Throw him in the package, and now we're talking. You know,
he's a pretty good player.
Is his value a first and second round pick? I would say not. So let's say they're saying, even if it's just a straight up first, like, okay, Deontay Johnson, the second round pick. Okay, maybe we're talking now. You know, somewhere in
And
that
he's
area.
due for a contract soon, right? Is this a contract year for him?
Next year, he can get that contract. So,
so they might potentially be willing to do that. But the thing is okay, you know, if you're going to draft a young quarterback,
now you're getting rid of your best weapon. I get it. Hey, you still have what's his face, Chase Claypool. So Joe, just to hit on this, I get the stats.
Johnson's definitely better than Claypool.
I get the stats on this, but if you actually watch the game, like, yeah, he was schemed open a lot and ran in a straight line. Like, it wasn't. I wasn't like, oh my god, he just tore apart their guy in a really good dig route. Like, it wasn't anything that's translatable to the NFL. So Harrison, I saw some people ask.
Here's the thing for me. Like, when I think of Burks,
mm-hmm.
and I watched your whole review on him, and seen some other stuff. Like, if I can't think of like a couple plays that really stand out, like, oh wow, that was an impressive play. That's a red flag. And why am I going to draft you in the top 10 if I can't think of like, well, wow, that's a flashy play or whatever? Like one of his most flashy plays was when he caught like a drag route and like turned it upfield on the sideline and ran like 20 extra yards for a touchdown. Like, that's your most impressive play that I can think of.
Yeah.
I'm not seeing it.
Yeah, no, he had some like contested catches that were really nice. But if we're relying on, I would say, what is overrated yak and contested catches, like, and okay, great, he has big hands. Like, I just can't. We're talking second round. We're talking about a trade up back into the first round. A couple of picks for him. Okay, I would get it. Would I prefer it? No. I think last year's draft, he's a second round player. I legitimately do. So do I want to trade back up into the first for him? No. If the Jets did it, okay. Like I said, I get it. But Harrison Weaver, the only true top 10 receiver in this class, in my opinion, is Jameson Williams. But of course, he got hurt. I saw some people ask me about that before. Based on what I've watched, I think he's a guy who's worth a top 10 pick if he wasn't injured. For the Jets, you take him at 10. No. Zach Wilson needs help now. He's going to be coming back and whatever, ready to play maybe in November, maybe not at all this season. I can't do that for the Jets. If they were to land a receiver and you're talking about a trade back up into the first for him, you stash him, for a little while. Okay, I would understand that. But
all right. So last time you and I did a live stream, you said you wouldn't even take him early second with one of our second round picks.
Yeah.
You still feel that way? Because I would.
If they were to get another receiver, yeah. But if because of that, now we're going into the season and Berrios is our 3. No. If we land Brandon Cooks, okay, now we're talking. Maybe I'm crazy, but I don't think the Jets are in the position where they could have Berrios being the number 3 going to the season. So
that would not be good.
Yeah, that's kind of my point, which again is unfortunate because we've talked about before free agency, they need to hit that, So moving on, Kyle, and I'll get to some other chats. Nick Baldwin, they re-signed Shepard, they re-signed Feeney. They original round tendered Mike White $2.5 million. I think the Jets personally are going to hype him up in the offseason and you trade him for a 5th round pick. Do I think the Jets really need to go into the season with three quarterbacks on the roster? I don't. If Mike White fetches the Jets a 5th round pick minus what he did, I get it with against the Bengals. I'd be plenty happy. I don't think you waste $2.5 million on him and not pick up a draft pick. So if a team wants to sign him $3 million and give us a pick, I'm completely cool with that. And they also brought Flacco back as $3.5 million. People might hate that I say that about Mike White, but realistically, do we really need 3 quarterbacks on the roster right now? And is Mike White, if you had gun to your head, is he really a reliable backup?
As much as you like Mike White for the Bengals game, just think about that Bills game before you start hyping him up.
Yeah, and the Colts game too, right?
The Colts game, he got hurt. He hit his finger on Buckner's helmet, so he didn't even play the full game. Josh Johnson played most of that game.
Mm-hmm. Any thoughts on the other guys? No.
I like resigning Baldwin. He showed some things. Love Joe Flacco as a backup. I really love him as a backup, honestly. It's hard for me to think of too many backups that are better than him, honestly. And the whole carrying 3 quarterbacks, the more and more I think about it, I mean, it's crazy to think that just a couple of years ago, the Jets carried 4. Imagine how stupid that was. But
yeah.
I mean, what do you really, I think when you carry 3, I think that's bad roster management, honestly.
Mm-hmm. Good job, Shadow. Shadow got it before Kyle did in terms of guessing Deontay Johnson. Michael Delfino, with the remaining wide receiver free agents available, I would be okay at this point drafting receiver at 10 or 35 and getting OBJ. bearing a DK trade or something. I mean, he looked great in LA. I think OBJ has matured. I think some of his problems with the Browns were probably more Baker than it was OBJ. The problem is the guy tore his did he tear his ACL or was it his Achilles?
Yeah, it was an ACL tear.
ACL tear on what, February 2nd? You know, he's not going to come back until November.
And this is the second time he's torn an ACL. I don't even know. It might be the same. I think it's the same knee too.
Yeah.
So that's concerning.
Yeah. So other moves they made, Kyle, I'm working through the chat while kind of supplementing with this. We signed back Tim
and
Ward.
and by the way, explosion wise, I mean, listen, early Odell, he was a guy who could take a slant 70 yards to the house. In fact, he did it against us in December in 2015 when we played him then. He's not that player anymore. Is he still a good player who can do some nice things? Yeah, sure. But early Odell, man, you could move that guy all over the field and have him run any route. He was a beast. He was a legit top 3 receiver. He's nowhere close to that anymore, and he's clearly lost some athleticism. But nice little resurgence in LA.
So it's kind of 2 questions paired together. Socrates, would I draft him the second? And somebody else says, you know, he didn't test the best at his pro day and combine. And a lot of his, and I get it, like you have to watch the film for what he actually does on the field. But to me, he was an overrated athlete from the jump. And he's super raw, and he was schemed open, and he's giving up on plays and giving up on routes. Would I do it in a second? Sure. But I don't think it's some slam dunk pick. And people might think I'm crazy for that because people are still talking about Burks at 10. I have no idea how people still talk about that guy at 10. Like I'm not trying to offend anybody who I've talked about with Burks or anything like that. But if you legitimately think he's worth the 10th pick, one, you haven't watched him, like actually watched him. Or 2, you don't know what you're watching. Like I'm sorry to be really blunt with that, but I cannot see that guy being worth a 10th pick. That'd be if they drafted like Neal and then Burks at 10. Like that would be the worst combo I've ever seen in my entire life. Like I am so low on Burks. I second round pick. Okay, sure. Like I would be okay with it. Or even maybe
you'd automatically start hating Joe Douglas.
Dude, 10th,
you'd be anti-Douglas.
He's way too smart to draft. There's absolutely no way.
Why are we having so much Burks talk tonight? Is because there was that report that the Jets used an official visit on him?
Yeah, I think he visited with the Jets. But come on, dude. Like Burks is so raw and he's not even a great athlete.
By the way, I'm seeing so much AJ Brown stuff, and apparently you said that Samini floated that idea on his podcast. Why on earth would the Titans get rid of AJ Brown? I mean, it's a different situation than Tyreek Hill. Number one, AJ is about 4 or 5 years younger than Tyreek.
25, man.
And you know, Tyreek was getting ready to get his 3rd contract, and he wanted to be the highest paid receiver in the league. You start to get skeptical, and I actually called my dad, who's a lifelong Kansas City Chiefs fan, when that news broke that the Chiefs were going to trade Tyreek. My dad was not happy about it because, and if I was a Chiefs fan, I wouldn't be either because, okay, let me ride Tyreek until the wheels fall off. But it is true that once Tyreek doesn't have his really explosive speed anymore, like he's not going to be that same. So I kind of get like the hesitation that like maybe he's not going to be good in 3 years from now or maybe 4 years from now. But with AJ, I mean, you still got, 5-6 good years before you're really worried. So it's a big difference when we're talking 4 or 5 years.
I appreciate that.
I do not see any reason why the Titans would give up on him.
Can only respect the bluntness, and to some people it like, and I get it's a turnoff for some people because you go to other places wherever it is. I don't care if it's a Lions channel, Jaguars. Every prospect's like, yeah, he's good. Yeah, he's good. Yeah, he's good. I'm a little bit lower on him. Yeah, he's good. Yeah, he's good. Like nobody's gonna be like, hey, I don't like Burks. I wouldn't take Burks in the 1st round. I don't like even a trade back up into the 1st. I would understand it, but like, dude, come on. Like I can't. But people talk about AJ Brown. The thing is like, and what's up, Steven? I would love it. The only way I could see that they would trade him, one, they are the number 1 seed in the NFL last year. They just traded for Woods. They're probably making another push for it. They have more of like I think a veteran team. So why would they be willing to trade Burke or AJ Brown? The only way I could see that would be if they've started to initiate contract talks and AJ Brown wants way more than they're willing to spend, or he's saying he doesn't want to be here for the future. But even with that, okay, he doesn't want to be here for the future.
Is he not the best player on the Titans, though?
Well, him or Henry, yeah, obviously.
Okay, but all right,
going
who would you rather
now,
pay? Henry, who's been, literally the wheels are starting to fall off that guy.
Obviously, yeah. So yeah, AJ Brown is their most valuable asset right now. But that's the only way I can see it. I just it's a possibility.
And
If
I
he
get it.
forces
Tannehill
way,
is your
but
quarterback, and I know you're lower on him than me.
mhm.
And yeah, of course you got to pay a lot of money to the quarterback, but you let go of some of your other big players before you let him go. He's not going anywhere, I don't think.
If London runs a 4.5, he's going top 10. Yeah, 4.5 would be fast for him in my opinion. Even if it's like a 4.55, I'm expecting him more as like a low 4.5, 4.59, 4.62, like in that area. But even with that being said, like again, what did Cooper Kupp run? What did DeAndre Hopkins run? What did Mike Evans run? Like we can't just put that much stock into 40 times.
I think Evans was 4.5 flat. Hopkins was 4.57. I don't know what Kupp was.
So now it's not like it doesn't matter at all. Like if he goes out there and runs a 4.75, okay, that's a little bit slow, obviously, but
That's very slow.
Like there's a threshold. But with that being said, I think he's worth the 10th pick for the Jets, depending on obviously how the board falls. So somebody says D Jones, I'll throw to you, Kyle.
Kupp was 4.62.
Okay, so he's plenty good, I think, and he doesn't necessarily have the ability to go up and get the ball like London does. He has some ridiculous plays, but obviously Cooper Kupp is an elite route runner. So NY Bully agree with this. Burks is too raw. He's going to get picked off a lot if he runs any routes past 10 yards. He's super raw. He ran like a couple of routes, and again, his mentality type stuff scares me. For a guy who's supposed to be Debo, when you're seeing him, I can show you plays of him literally skipping out on blocks. He's supposed to crack a linebacker or a safety, and he's spinning out of the play to not hit somebody. And then that same player goes and tackles the quarterback, the running back. It's a massive turnoff for me. I hate that shit. That's what I'm talking about. Getting a guy like Sauce Gardner who won't quit on any play, does not matter, is a kind of message to send. So
and not to mention there's plays he's running on the sideline and approaching the sideline, and he literally, if he turns it up, cuts inside, he could probably gain 4 or 5 extra yards easily, but then just decides to run it out. There's no excuse. If you're a coach and you see that shit, you literally get in your player's face and scream at them.
And a guy who is, I would say, Burks has a much higher capability of yak than London, but have you ever seen London run out of bounds and not try to truck somebody even when he's currently running out of bounds? Like his foot's out of bounds, he's going to lower his shoulder into a guy. Burks is not like that. Like he doesn't have that like dog mindset to me. He just doesn't. So 4 for DK and a third, Kyle. 4 is a little too high for me. You're talking 10. Okay, 4.
Yeah, I don't want to give up 4.
Yeah, I'm not going to.
If I give up 4, I really don't think I'm going to be able to get Sauce. So no thanks.
Joe and Kyle from Joe Nelson. How do you feel about going wide receiver in a second, like Dotson, Watson, or whoever you like in the later rounds? To me, Joe, I think that's a very real possibility, just based on what I don't have many sources, but what I've been hearing. I get very, very, very few rumblings, but when I do, I trust them. And I think the Jets ideally want to end up with an edge rusher or one of Kyle Hamilton or Sauce Gardner. That's all I'm going to say, because that's what I've heard. So I think that's their preferred method, whether it be Sauce at 4, edge rusher at 10, or edge at 4, and then hope that one of Sauce or Hamilton falls to 10. I think that's what they want to do. Now, do they see what happened with Hill and maybe readjust their thinking a little bit? Okay, Hamilton's still there, but we're going to reach for London a little bit. I think that's a possibility. But I think if I had to bet on it right now, the Jets bring in some type of vet, they trade for somebody. Maybe it's something we didn't have our sights set on, but let's say it's, I don't know, Emmanuel Sanders, a guy who's older, but still consistent and okay, 3rd or 4th, whatever. And then they drafted Dotson, that's okay. But if they're going to the draft and they don't have a plan to bring in a starting level receiver, then that wouldn't be enough for me. And don't get it misconstrued. Oh, the Jets are going to run plenty of 12 personnel, because that's the argument I hear all the time. Guess what, Kyle? Weeks, I think 1 through 3 or 1 through 4 in the NFL, or last NFL season, the Jets were number 1 in 12 personnel, and I think they were right around 40%. So, and 11 personnel was still like 40%. So you're still going to run 11 personnel at least like 40% of the time. Mm-hmm. And that's with that stat. Now let's assume an injury, because an injury is going to happen for a couple of weeks. So somebody gets injured. Let's just say it's Elijah Moore or Corey Davis. Let's just say worst case scenario, it's Elijah Moore. Now you're running into week 7 with Corey Davis, Jahan Dotson, and Braxton Berrios. It's not enough for me. It is not. So they have to figure out.
And Corey has a long injury history. It's not just last year that he was out a lot. You know, his whole career in Tennessee, he was on the shelf a lot. So yeah, they definitely need more. as far as those guys that Dotson and Watson, I haven't watched them yet, so I'm hearing nice things.
Yeah.
So it'd be interesting in the coming weeks to get around to watching some of those guys. But yeah, honestly, I hope the Jets can kind of acquire Cooks and still draft a receiver with one of their first 4 picks.
People have to be, and by the way, Steve, this is probably one of the nicest super chats we ever gotten. Just not a question, just who loves Blewett and Smith? This guy, Steve is a goat.
And $20. Thanks, Steve.
And $20. Steve is the goat. Which I haven't seen Steve a lot in here until recently, but recently he's been killing it. So Steve, that is awesome. Thank you a lot, man. He completely made me blank on what I was going to say, so he fucked me up. But
we were talking about receivers, and I was saying that I would like to acquire like Cooks and still draft one with one of our first 4 picks. So, you know,
Jin Polk says something like 200 something people watching, 67 likes. Yeah, I don't really ask for likes a lot, but hey, that's not a good ratio. You know, 1 out of every 3 people are here, but they don't like the stream. What is it? What is with that? There's no way. I missed Lima Bean super chat. I'm going back, Lima Bean. Kyle.
He has done a lot.
I apologize for the cough, guys. I'm struggling.
I actually think you're doing a pretty good job managing, to be honest. I was thinking about that earlier. I was thinking like he's doing a pretty good job with pacing and managing all this. I really was thinking I'm just trying to butter you up.
Yeah, I showed Kyle what it's like my wheezing right now before the stream, and I don't know what the hell is wrong with me. But let's hit on this real quick while I find Lima Bean.
We missed the Jacob Martin Jacob Martin signing.
Kyle, I got to run through. Don't worry about it, my guy. You know,
I saw somebody in the chat bringing up too.
I can multitask. The next lump of signings, at least in my flow chart, whatever the fuck it is, in order that it happened. Nothing big. You don't have to hit on it. I'm just trying to find, or too much, but I'm trying to find Lima Bean. They brought back Tim Ward, Guidry, Elijah Riley, Jeff Smith. They tendered Eddie Pinheiro for $2.4 million. Thoughts on that clumping of players bringing back?
I like bringing back Pinheiro. I mean, he finally brought in some kind of stability at the kicker position. You know, actually, when he was getting ready to kick a 37-yard field goal, I wasn't worried that he was going to shank it. Whereas I couldn't say something for the previous other kickers that we had. With Jeff Smith, what's the plan for him? Honestly, like, I feel like he really should have been used more.
Like a backup gadget guy, yeah.
Yeah, or just like even put him in motion. Like, even if you're not going to give him the rock, at least put him in motion. But so like when he did get on the field, I wasn't impressed. I don't know. So, I mean, I'm fine with it. Who was the other person you mentioned?
Guidry, Tim Ward, Elijah Riley.
I like Guidry. Tim Ward, I mean, I feel like he flashed a little bit in that Falcons game, but I really didn't see too much of him aside from that.
Tim Ward, is he going to make the roster? If I had to bet my money, probably not. Guidry, I think, is a backup slot. Riley, does he make the roster? You know, he's probably competing with Ashton Davis for, like, let's just say they draft whoever in the 3rd round. Who's Petrie? Let's say they draft Petrie at 38 or 69 or whatever, and then your starters are Petrie, if I'm pronouncing the name right, and Whitehead. I think that you probably, if I had to bet my money on it, you probably have LaMarcus Joyner, that's a lock, and then probably I would say Will Parks as the 4th, and Ashton Davis might not make the roster unless you're carrying 5. But this is
Ashton Davis is going to make the roster.
We'll see.
He was an early 3rd round pick. He's not going to give up on him that easily. He's not that bad. I mean, he's bad. He's not that bad.
Are you sure he's not that bad?
I mean, he's bad. He's bad. Now,
Okay.
You've never heard me say otherwise, but he's not that bad to the point where he's going to get cut.
Okay. So, Lima Bean, what if Sauce is the next Aluakon QB risky in first? Lima Bean, 1, appreciate the super chat. You threw like 4 or 5 already, so you're a savage. But with that being said, can't we say that about anybody? What if Thibodeaux is Golston? What if the next receiver is Darius Hayward Bay? What if the tight end is Jay Samaro? What if the linebacker is Deron Lee? We could say that for everything. But the thing is, when you take guys high, you're limiting the risk because you have faith in yourself and your scouting staff to evaluate the player. You know, I think every position is risky. You know, is the first round even over 50% hit rate in terms of them being a starting level player? It's probably below 50%. So yeah, everything's risky. You know,
has Okudah been that bad? I mean, he got injured last year pretty early.
I haven't watched enough. I'm just trying to make sure I didn't skip any other super chats before I get to the bottom of the chat. But I'll ask you this question while I get to the bottom of the chat. The next signing, Kyle, which I'm not going to say which one's my number 1 or 2, which it doesn't really matter. But one of my absolute favorite signings, like bar none, turned it on, was like, holy shit, really? DJ Reed.
Yeah. So I did watch one of his games, and yeah, man, you could tell like this is a very high effort player,
dude.
When he flips his hips real quick, when he decides to close on a ball, like he's got really good. Like and again, I watched one entire game of this coach's film, so I'd like to watch a lot more.
Which game was that? The
they played the Rams late in the season. No, excuse me, Niners late in the season.
There's that play where he was in like that palms 2 read situation, which a lot of people are like, oh, he just in cover 2 and he jumped it. He was in 2 read, and he widens out the 1 and then has his eyes on Rodgers and his peripheral on the 2. The 2 breaks out, and you can definitely tell it's 2 read because of how.
You want to pull the play up if you have it?
Because of how maybe, but because of how like Jamal Adams gets over the top of the 1, which is what you need to do in 2 read instead of staying over in kind of the middle of those 2 players in just regular 2. So you could tell it was that again, and he explodes to Devontae Adams. Like his deep speed is good. His explosive ability to break on a ball is ridiculous. Like
when he plants his foot in the ground and he drives on a ball, it's really quick.
Smart as hell, physical as hell. He has like people, oh, he's short, he can't play outside receiver or outside cornerback. Dude, Jari Alexander is an inch taller. And with that being said, for corners, like you want the height, but he also has like 32-inch arms, which is or I think it's close to 32-inch arms. So it's not like he has short arms too. He doesn't have 29-inch arms like what's the Washington corner, Trent McDuffie. Like he is a legit player, and especially getting him for $11 million. Do I think he's locked down Jalen Ramsey? No, but can he be a legitimate number 1? A lower tier number 1, which I think we overrate, and we look into too much number 1 versus 2, because you just need 2 starting corners. They're both, left, right in this system more. And he's going to play right. And I think he is very, very capable for the price. Again, we were kind of like, okay, Uzomah's all right. Like he's an all right starting tight end. That's fine. We said Laken Tomlinson, probably a little bit overpaid, but I get it. We like it. People are like, these guys are fucking negative. But DJ Reed, A+ signing. I absolutely love what DJ Reed brings to the position, to the locker room. And the fact that he's 25, he can be good for a couple of years. You can even extend him to another contract. Like if you tell me, and this isn't an ideal situation for me in terms of how the draft plays out, but let's say it is Sauce at 4, and then I'm not going to bring that up. I'm not going to say what I'm going to say. Let's say they do get Sauce at 4, and you have Sauce and DJ Reed, and then your backups are Eccles, Hall, Mike Hart a second in the slot, Guidry. Like you're looking at a pretty freaking good cornerback.
Your corner room has turned around so much in the span of 1 year.
From what was
because not only are those other guys you had, they're not rookies anymore. All right.
Yeah.
Right. So they're going to be there's a big improvement from rookie year to second year, and then you just added 2 quote unquote blue chip guys. So you really turned a huge weakness around into like a strength. Yeah, no, I really like him. And by the way, like the whole height thing, like he's got an above average vert, 59th percentile in terms of vert. Yeah. So, when you're talking about going up and getting a jump ball,
plays the ball well too. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I think Nani was throwing out like some numbers of like him in the run game, and apparently like he's really good at stuffing runs and stuff in terms of whatever the stats say. Yeah. But he's definitely, you can see him be very aggressive in the run game, which I really, really, really like.
There's a lot of plays I have where it's just like, I just got tired of like labeling. It's just like tackle, because the way he takes on screens and explodes to take on the running back receiver is ridiculous. I will say in his tackling, he gets a little bit ankle bitey at times. So he will miss a tackle or two like that. But overall, you're talking about an elite tackling or willing tackling type corner. And now you pair that with Sauce, who is also uber willing to tackle. Which I know it's not, people are going to be like, holy shit, how well does he tackle? I really want him at 4, but it's a part of the puzzle. So, but moving on, NY Bully, I'll give up pick 35 for Brown. It's me a lot more than that. NY Bully, 25 years old, probably top 15 receiver, top 10 receiver.
AJ Brown? There's no chance in hell.
Yeah, no, they would hang up the phone and never answer again.
I mean, AJ was, he was taken in the second round, and he's developed into like he's an absolute superstar, man. Dude, like
he's top 10. Like we can go.
You put on the NFL Red Zone channel.
Yeah.
And I was watching a lot of Red Zone in the 2020 season because I was really rooting for the Jags to lose games and following them. And I don't have the Sunday ticket. And dude, every time I freaking put on the Red Zone channel, AJ Brown's having like a 50-yard touchdown or something like that.
Yeah.
He's a special player.
Dave Salvato, $5. Appreciate that. Dave, I don't know if you meant to leave a comment or not, but if you did, I'll make sure to find it down in the chat. But I appreciate it nonetheless. Michael Delfino, I don't know who would cry harder if AJ came to play with Elijah, AJ or me. I would be so happy, but they legit love each other. Like, I know it's a little bit like you're looking at, like, you're putting too much value into like what that means, but at the same time, like the nostalgic part of me, like, can you imagine playing receiver with literally your best friend? Like, that would be awesome. Like, there would never be fights about where the ball is going. Like, and he's one of the best receivers in the NFL. Like, I would absolutely love that too. But I don't know. I'm going to scan to the chat a little bit more, but yeah, we absolutely love DJ Reed. I think I don't know if it's your favorite signing, Kyle, or not, but I'm very, very happy with it.
Probably, but I'll wait to answer that question in 2 more weeks when I'm able to watch.
I have another guy who out of all these deals, I have another guy who I like a lot. I guess you'll guess and I'll tell you who it is. And then you can
based on your tweets, it seems like it's going to be Conklin.
Dude, love him. Absolutely love Conklin. I don't understand how to be honest, I don't know how he got $7 million and Uzomah got 8, because Conklin to me, dude,
it could just be the fact that one of the guys almost won a Super Bowl.
Sure, and like the whole leadership thing, but in terms of like their ability, their route running capabilities, I get like. So the only thing I would say that
you don't like his yak ability, Conklin.
Yeah, so Uzomah has better yak ability, and I would say he's probably a little bit better as a pass protector just because of his length and things like that. But dude, Conklin, some of his routes, like Kyle, I'm talking about like legitimate, like BAM steps, legitimate rocker steps. Like, he is a freaking route runner, and he's explosive off the line. He has good deep speed, and you're looking at people saying about him like, oh, average athlete, bullshit. The way he like gets his drive step under after his break step, like some of that stuff, like the little shit we talk about with the receivers, like legit. I really, really like the Conklin move as well. So
yeah, I'm really looking forward to watching that review. And he seems like he's a very willing blocker, and
for sure.
I
have reps of him blocking Chandler Jones.
Yeah, I saw Thorne throw up those clips too of him against Jones. Yeah, no, I thought the same thing. Like, I haven't done like a super deep dive on him yet, but I was wondering, like, he's younger than Uzomah too. So why is there the disparity in the contracts? Yeah, but it could just be, like I said, sometimes the whole Super Bowl, we want to get a guy who's, played a big role in a Super Bowl team. So I don't know. And I was wondering because I think when I was trying to watch him, I accidentally like clicked 2020 Vikings film.
Mm-hmm.
Or no, I was looking on YouTube to see if anyone put up, because I hate the new Game Pass. I was seeing if anyone put
it's
all
the
22 Vikings, and the one game that I did find on YouTube of all 22 clips, I didn't see Conklin in there a lot. So I'm wondering, did he only really have 1 year of production?
Yeah, like he had a breakout.
I'm speculating.
One breakout year. I think it was because like Irv Smith went down or something like that, and then like he kind of ran with that role and didn't really necessarily give it back. But and again, like and I appreciate this comment from Mr. I can't even read
Magix?
Yeah, whatever. I appreciate that. So I don't want to overhype some of these guys, but Conklin, DJ Reed, absolutely love them. And when you have reps of him blocking guys like like I said, Chandler Jones and whoever else, he's a player. Like I like him a lot. Turtle, London's not falling to 35 unless on the way to the draft he refractures his ankle walking down a set of stairs. It's just there's absolutely no way he's falling to 35. I'll guarantee that. Next,
or unless they catch him with a gas mask video before the draft.
I'll put this up. Frank the Tank, would you take Sauce at 4, London at 10, and trade it into the first for an edge, or take one in the second?
I don't think one of those edges is going to fall that low.
Yeah, who are we talking, Frank the Tank? Because to me, like, I don't think any of the edge rushers who I legitimately want are falling past like 15, 16. Like, I don't love Jermaine Johnson's my 5th, but I still don't think he's going anywhere later than again 15, 14. I think honestly, Carl Loftus is probably going to be the 5th one taken. And if he falls to early 20s, friggin' A, you trade up for him. But I can't see that happening based on what I watched of him. So to me, it's ideally an edge rusher at 10 and they address the receiver already before the draft, or they have a trick up their sleeve, because like a lot of things we're talking about with the receiver is like, oh, well, JD's not doing anything. We're all freaking out. And then it happened. And then, a minute later, we're all sitting there at 11:30, whatever, having our brunch, breakfast, coffee, whatever, depending on when you wake up. And holy shit, the Chiefs are about to trade Tyreek Hill. And then it's holy shit, it's the Jets and the Dolphins. And then we're like, and then if that happened, we didn't think about anything about Cooper or Woods or any of these guys. So if we go into the draft without an answer and he doesn't have a trick up his sleeve, then I'm more willing to take London at 10. I just think he's going to do something. There has to be something. Again, we'll talk about that in a little bit. But Joshua, appreciate the super chat. Killing it with the super chats, guys. If the Jets go,
I think this is probably the most that we've gotten in the first hour and 23 minutes.
Yeah, ridiculous. So I definitely appreciate you guys a lot. If the Jets go, Sauce at 4, Jermaine Johnson at 10, George Pickens at 35, Winfrey 38 Winfrey at 38, Petrie at 69, James Cook and Wan'Dale Robinson round 4 offseason success.
I don't like Jermaine Johnson at 10.
I don't prefer Jermaine Johnson at 10. If you're telling me, hey, sign this right now and this is our draft, I would probably do it. But the thing with Pickens is, how healthy is he? I don't really know. Obviously, there's been some injury concerns around his career. So are they comfortable with that? I don't necessarily love taking guys.
Dude, you'd prefer Jermaine Johnson at 10 versus Hamilton?
No, I would.
I mean, honestly, like, dude, Johnson. I guess he could be realistic at 10, but
yeah, 10,
when I see that name and I think about either taking a receiver there, or I think about maybe getting one of the edge guys there, or when I think about Hamilton is like, I'm really not happy even with that at 10, but I would even take him at 10 before Johnson.
I'd prefer Hamilton over Johnson. And like, not a lot of people talked about him, Kyle. And then what happened? The Senior Bowl. And now everybody's talking about him. Take him at fucking 4. I don't care. It's like, okay, let's chill a little bit. Like, I watched him, like, okay, mid to late first round guy, and I would get him at 10. Are there players I prefer over him? Yeah, I think he's definitely one of the players who's getting overrated by fans. So it is what it is. Again, somebody said before, like, hey, I like the bluntness of the show, but we talked about it, Kyle. Like, I think he's explosive. I think he's a good mover in space. I think he has good, like, lateral agility as well. But I think his bend is just okay. His pass rush in terms of consistency from down to down is severely lacking in terms of a plan. So I think you're looking at a guy who is a solid overall athlete, who is still very raw in terms of pass rushing. So we're going to take that guy at 10. I'm not for it.
I mean, if you're so arrogant and cocky in your coaching ability to the point where, like, if you feel like he's got a really good character, he's a really hard worker, and you feel like you can really develop him, I understand it, but there's a lot of projection there. And
yeah.
Like, at this point, he's not a great football player at this point. And that doesn't mean he's a bad football player. I'm not saying that at all. He's not a great football player. And when I'm taking guys in the top 10 and I'm trying to turn around a franchise, I want to take great football players. Mm-hmm. He's not that right now.
Taylor, another supporter, super chat again, $5. Thank you. Would you have a problem with first round, second round receivers, but not a real starting number 1 vet? So Moore would be the number 1.
Wait, you're drafting a receiver in the first and the second? Is that how I'm understanding that? First and second round receiver, not a real. If you're taking a receiver in the first round, you're talking about a guy who is
should be
a real starting number 1. He should be
10. You're talking about a top 10 pick. Should he be? Yes. Do I think any of these receivers are? No. I think Moore would be the number 1. I think it's more realistic to bring in a lower tier trade option or an Emmanuel Sanders type, and you draft a guy in the second. But I'm not drafting a receiver in the first and second round. Like, I don't want a second round receiver sitting there as a 4th guy after you just drafted one in the first round, and then Berrios, who's got paid $6 million, sitting as a 5th receiver. It's a little bit too much for me, especially with all the other positions in need. So a little bit more. Dave Bell is a sleeper. I saw him as like a second round guy, and then he had a bad combine, fall into maybe the 3rd. But I appreciate the super chat. Christopher Phillips, $5 again, killing it with the super chats. Jake Asman said Cooks is working on an extension in Houston.
Really?
I know who Jake is. I know he does like a Jets channel. But Am I gonna hitch my wagon to that? Maybe, maybe. I don't really trust a lot of guys, so maybe they are. And then, hey, he wants too much money, and then sure, we're trading to the Jets. That's the ideal situation. Trade to
I
the
don't
Jets.
understand why he'd want to re-sign in Houston. I mean, if the money's great, okay, I get it. But
Yeah. He said he wants to stay in one place because he's been traded so much. So maybe that's why. Pirlo, Joe, has your trust level increased or decreased, or say the same with JD so far? I would say increased. I think I'm more of a Joe Douglas fan than some other people. I like his process and a lot of stuff that always doesn't work out, but I think a lot of it is, when you think about the step-by-step process, I think it's pretty good. So minus his first year of drafting, which is what it is. But if you have Bryce Hall, who's a starting level corner, Becton, who comes back and is a near Pro Bowl level tackle, and that's all you get from the draft, it is what it is. It's not ideal, but it's not an F. If we're talking about 2 starters. So, Kyle, I'm gonna move through some of the more of the chats. But the next signing we'll talk about, and we still have to get to some other stuff as well. Obviously, Jordan Whitehead, 24 years old, plays obviously a lot in the box, but you did see some reps of him in high coverage. He had 334 reps in the box, 191 in the slot, 265 as free safety. He got two years for $15 million, or I think it was 7 or 7.5. And to me, people think 191 in the slot, he's playing a slot corner. It's more, he's probably just playing a curl to flat in a cover 3, and that's his responsibilities. People see him line up in the slot and say that. So,
and he blitzes a good amount too.
Yeah, so it's realistically he played probably, let's just say, 500 reps in the box and 265 as free safety. So what do you think about that signing?
I was in the process of watching him when you and I linked up tonight. I want to say I like it. I mean, he kind of fills a need, and he seems like he's a tough player, and so I like that. Yeah, he definitely does move around a lot. I mean, it's I saw him playing probably in the 1 quarter of that game I watched. He did play a decent amount of reps as the single high safety. So it does seem like they move him around a lot. I didn't see too much that maybe say, okay, wow. But so I got to watch a lot more on it. But when I saw it, I was like, okay, cool. He's filling a need. He's a young player. I like young players. So why don't you tell me more about him?
I think he's worth the price. I think if people think they're getting one of the best safeties in the league, they're a little bit mistaken. He misses more tackles than I would like to, that I hoped. Hearing about how good he is as a tackler, he definitely ankle bites a lot, takes really, really aggressive angles sometimes, which can kind of screw him. Man coverage, I wasn't overly impressed. I don't think he's the best man coverage guy. Kind of matches up to what he was rated. Zone coverage, I think he's an okay zone defender. As a middle third or as a deep half, if you're asking him to be a zone defender in a cover 4 or on the passing strength of a cover 6, and which is basically turns into be man coverage, don't want him there. So I think he's capable in some zones, wouldn't prefer it. I think he's a good box guy. I think he's good in short zones, hook zones, curl to flats, short zones. I'm fine with it. Like the athleticism, like the aggressive mindset, like the ability to thump. I like how he takes on blocks. Again, misses some tackles, but overall, I think he's a good price for what he is. But people he never missed a tackle. I was like, I think literally the first game, he probably had 2 or 3 bad angles or missed tackles. That's the aggressiveness is great sometimes, and sometimes it's going to burn him in the ass. So, but overall, I like it.
Okay.
So. Next move, which is one of the other fleece jobs for Joe Douglas, trading Blake Cashman for a 2023 6th round pick. Kyle, are you?
Dude, I was
literally right now that there's no Blake Cashman on the roster.
I was literally laughing out loud when I saw that. I don't understand that at all.
He's played 40 reps in 2 years. Is he injured for the Texans yet? How did they do that trade? I don't understand it. Is their medical staff so good they have faith in them? What is
that alone? Should make Brandon Cooks stay away from wanting to sign an extension in Houston.
Yeah. No name. Christ. Amanin, no name. Joe, what would be your ideal first 5 picks and your alternate first 5? That's alternate. I'll just do the ideal first 5. Honestly, my dream right now is obviously they get a receiver. Let's say it is Cooks. So you're getting rid of one of those picks. Well, I'll be blatantly just straight up with this. So first 5, we're talking about 2 firsts, 2 seconds, a third, and 111 or whatever it is, right? That's 5. Or am I an idiot?
I'm sorry, I was reading the chat and not paying
I
attention.
think it's 2 first, 2 seconds. Oh, and a third. So 111 or whatever it is traded for Brandon Cooks. So that's we'll do it to 6. 35 or 38 is traded because Hutchinson falls to 2 or 3, and you trade one of those picks for Hutchinson, so you're taking away one of those picks. At 38, let's say, so you just got Cooks, you got Hutchinson, or sorry, at 10, then you get, at 4 is Hutchinson, trade up, you're getting rid of one of the second round picks. You have Cooks for 111. At 10, you grab Sauce Gardner because he falls for whatever ungodly reason. And then at 38, I'm going to say, I don't know, Christian Harris, Chad Muma, one of those guys is there because linebacker is the biggest need after those. That's how you use your first 5 or 6 picks. I think that there are 2 blue chip, true elite prospects in this draft, and I think it's Sauce Gardner. I think it's Aiden Hutchinson. I think it stops there. So if you're telling me you could trade 38 to get up to 2 or 3 to get Hutchinson, I am doing that in a blink of an eye, because the thing about the Jets is like people, and it is what it is. It's just how mock drafts has taken over people's mindsets. They want to fill every single hole. The thing with the Jets right now is, and like we've been filling holes. We got Uzomah, we got Conklin, we got all these guys. The Jets need elite talent, and if you could trade up a second round pick, which to be honest is probably a 30% chance of hitting, for a guy who I think is going to be an elite edge rusher in the NFL, or at least an upper tier edge rusher in the NFL, I'm doing that in a blink of an eye, because the Jets need that true elite talent. Because right now, Kyle, not being blunt again, who is an elite player on the Jets right now? I think Elijah Moore can be, maybe, but other than that, there's no. I don't think anybody's truly.
Well,
elite.
I'm not going to say Quinnen, so
he's not elite right now. He has a lot to prove. So they have not one elite player on the team who every other team would be clamoring for. Let's just be honest, they don't. So if you could trade a second round pick to get an elite, a guy who could be an elite, I'm doing it.
I mean, AVT could be elite, but he's not there yet.
No, that's a jump to take. Like a gun to your head right now. Okay, is AVT an all-pro guard elite player? Yeah. I think he's very good. I think there's a difference between very, very good Pro Bowl type player, and I'm talking about elite players. It's a different ballgame.
Yeah, and Becton, as the intro to this show says, could be elite too, but there's big question mark there, so we'll see. Okay, but he's got that level of talent for sure,
and people are going to like it because people love their draft picks. They do. But right now, if I could tell you, hey, you fetch Hutchinson and it costs you obviously 4 and 35 or 38, are you doing that?
If I can get Hutchinson for 4, 35 and 38
or 38.
Oh yeah, we talked about this for weeks now. I said that's ideally the best thing to do for sure. You put on Hutchinson's tape, and I saw someone saying in the chat that Kayvon has the best pass rush win rate. I do not see that on film at all. So I don't know who's compiling stats like that, but if you watch the film, Kayvon versus Hutchinson's film is way better. He's getting a lot more pressures. He's getting a lot more hits. Mm-hmm. His pass rush plan is so much better. Dude, Kayvon, there's times out there where he's like, what are you doing, man? So
yeah, I
don't see that at all.
When I watched his Hutchinson stuff, like every other player was like, holy shit. Like I really like Hutchinson. Like people are down on him for some reason. I don't know why. He's just like not the cool guy to like apparently, because he's been up on that tier for a while. Like now people have to force in Jermaine Johnson into there. Let's say that he's better than Hutchinson, which is absolutely an atrocious take to me. I'll never back anybody who says that. I just can't. Like that's just crazy. I don't care if it's Bleacher Report. I don't care if it's Matt Miller. I don't care if it's DJ. If you say that, I definitely my respect drops a peg for you. It just does. Mike with a super chat. What are the chances we trade down from number 4 and still get a cornerback edge rusher? I think it's not Tremaine Johnson, but Jermaine Johnson, and a wide receiver. So trade down from 4. What are the chances? I think it's probably low. I think 10 is more realistic. I don't know who's trading up to 4, unless somebody really likes Willis and wants to trade up there in front of the Giants at 5, and maybe think the Giants take him. I would still put at a pretty low chance, but you're trading down from 4 to what? And getting a cornerback edge rusher. If you trade down to 7 or 8, and then you could say Sauce is there. Okay, cool. And at 10, it's Karlaftis. I think that's what we prefer, Karlaftis or Walker over Jermaine Johnson. And a receiver, when? Like it's what picks we're talking about. It's kind of a really open-ended question. But regardless, I appreciate the super chat, Mike. Any thoughts on that, Kyle?
Yeah, I'm not trading out of 4. What's interesting is usually really early on in the draft, like especially with the first couple picks, teams like have a good idea of who's going to be there. If you're the Jets sitting at 4, you might at this point, or maybe in a couple weeks, have a real good idea of who's going to be there at 4. So if I know my guy is going to be there, there's no way I'm trading out. In terms of the other, like I liked Stingley's film overall. I mean, I didn't think it was like some people are saying, oh, generational, blah, 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 blah. He is very talented, but with the injuries and stuff, I do not want to take him that high.
Yeah.
Would I be the most upset in the world if they did draft him at if they traded back to 9? Let's say they traded back from 4 and took him at 9 and then took another. I mean, would I be punching the wall mad? No. But I don't know. I'm not going to do that personally.
Yeah. So moving on to the next one from Lima Bean. I won't forget that now. And this is, and I already read this, and this is exactly why I think you need to land a receiver in free agency, or you still do in a trade, whatever, because this is the exact terrible scenario. He says, so if no wide receiver in the first, your top 6 choices are gone by 35, which maybe there's another guy in there too if we would list them, who I'd be willing to take at 35 or 38. What do you do? Big reach at 35 or risk going lower? Injury can screw us. Tyreek Black, and that's exactly like that. That's the problem with it. But let's say, okay, they don't like an edge rusher at 4, right? Let's just say for whatever reason, they're out on Thibodeaux. Walker goes at 3, or they don't like Walker. Okay, the pick at 4 is Sauce because that's their best player on the board. Now at 10, they could take, let's say, Carl Loftus, but instead, who they have much higher than Drake London, but now they're going to risk taking Drake London. That's the kind of the shitty situation they're in right now because, like you said, top 6 choices, but you have London, Wilson, Burks, Jameson Williams, Olave, Watson. Then we're talking about and that's I might have a different in the second round type guys because I haven't really watched them enough to really know. Then we're talking Pickens type players. Yeah, it's a massive concern, Lima Bean. So I'm hoping they get that freaking 4th round pick and trade it for Brandon Cooks because I don't want Tyreek Black or even a guy who people are high on in Braxton Berrios to see a lot of reps, a lot of meaningful reps for a quarterback in a massive year for him, So thoughts, Kyle?
It's funny. We were talking about no trade clauses and stuff, and apparently Tyreek Hill had a no trade clause in his contract. And why didn't Brandon Cooks negotiate for a no trade clause at some point after getting traded all those times? I'd have to imagine that the next one he does sign would have that in there. Yeah, the receiver thing is a real big concern. I was just kind of, while you were reading that and spitballing your thoughts, I was kind of thinking myself, a lot of it's going to depend on where your draft grades are. And if you have Carl Loftus, or one of these edge guys with a decently higher grade than a receiver, and obviously it's a more valuable position than a receiver, you got to take that guy there. But then you get into this scenario where if you didn't get Cooks, what are you going to do at receiver? And for me, I think you got really lucky with Elijah Moore. You got Elijah Moore at 34 last year. You got super lucky. And you can't bank on getting that lucky again. Mm-hmm. So you have to start to think okay, one of these guys, London's probably not going to be there, but maybe Wilson probably not. But
I'm going to agree with exactly what you're about to say. I know what you're about to say.
You might like one of these other guys, and you really start having to think of potentially giving up a good amount of capital to move back up at some point a little bit later in the first round to get the guy that you like.
I don't think I mentioned Olave. So you have let's just say in no particular order, Williams, Olave, Burks, London, Wilson. Let's just say Dotson. So you're looking at Watson, Pickens type guys. So and I didn't even think about that. So good. So bravo to Kyle. I think realistically in this scenario, the Jets are sitting at 35, and maybe they have a grouping of, let's just say Olave, Watson, and Dotson. And and the problem is now the Chiefs traded their best receiver. The Packers traded their best receiver. So maybe they're sitting there like, shit, these two guys are going to take a receiver. Maybe you trade up to 25 or 26 and you send a 4th round pick or a 3rd round pick to get your guy. I think that's probably what should happen in that scenario. If they don't get a receiver, I think we'll see how the board falls, field out, and trade up if they need to. So
what did you say, a 4th or a 5th round pick?
I say like, no, I said probably like a 3rd or a 4th. Maybe I said a 5th, but probably a 3rd or a 4th.
Definitely. I don't think a 4th would be enough to do it, but depending how many spots you're going to move up, I think you probably at least have to toss a 3rd to maybe, if you're talking like, let's say you're at 35 and you want to get to 24, you're probably at least going to have to throw a 35. I mean, excuse 35, and then probably a 3rd round pick as well, at least.
Okay. And if they do that, I would get it. Like, people get obsessed with draft picks, but let's say they really like Olave and he falls to 25 and it's starting to fall not in a favorable way from that 35, and they trade, 35 and 69 and they get Olave, and you just addressed is he really addressing the receiver need? It depends on how he works out or does not, depending. But
can I say something? So someone said, KJ Frederick said Moore dropped last year. Okay. What I'm saying is, yeah, I know Moore dropped, but you got lucky that like a legit 1st round talent dropped that low. And what I'm saying is, will one of these receivers be there at 35? I can almost guarantee that one of these guys that Joe just named will be there at 35. But the question is, if you're the Jets, is the guy you want going to be there at 35?
Yeah.
And I'm not going to just sit there in my head and say, oh, I'm going to definitely take a receiver at 35, whoever's there, whoever I like best out of the guys who are there. No. If I know receiver's a big need and I wasn't able to address at this point, I have to seriously think about moving up to take the guy that I want, not just take a guy at 35.
And you have to assume like fit and all this stuff. And like the Jets might have a receiver board that just based on where they expect them to go, like they might have those 7-8 guys, and like Watson might not be on it. Pickens might not be on it. Olave might not be on it. So they might have a grouping of 5 guys who they think are worth, a top 38 pick. Like, people just assume, okay, because Draft Tech or whoever has these guys in the top 8, that's the order that the Jets will win to take them. Like, there's some guys who are just not on people's board because they don't like their personality, how they fit, etc. So I would probably get in that scenario, trade up if it gets a little bit sketchy at the end right there. So last few drafts, and I hear this a lot. I'm not calling you out at all, Jets gang, at all, because I've seen a lot of people say just stuff like this. Like, oh, well, I don't know. Cam Chancellor was a 4th round pick. Richard Sherman was a 5th round pick. Tom Brady was a 6th round pick. So should we just trade all of our picks to get a bunch of 6th round picks and hope we, throw shit into a fan and somehow it sticks to the wall above the fan? Like, I don't know. Like, you trust the Jets scouts who are picking these players that they're making the correct assessment. Like, we can't just say, oh, well, they got Eccles last year, he was decent, so we're gonna draft every corner in the 2nd or in the 5th or the 6th round. Or Hall was a 5th round pick, we should take another guy there, he's a starting level guy. Like, it's not necessarily that easy to just say, oh, well, all these guys were drafted, because then why not just screw it? We're not going to take,
there's a reason these guys go later.
Yeah, we're not going to take Sauce. We're going to take the guy in the 6th round at 10 because we know he's going to be good. Like, it's guys are ranked up there for a reason. Joe, what is your top 10 for the draft? Big board? Do you want it for the Jets or in a vacuum? In a vacuum, or for the Jets, I would probably say, and the second one on this list is so determined on how the Jets feel about him, but Hutchinson, Thibodeaux, Sauce, Walker's my 4. Karlaftis is my.
Oh, he got up that high?
Karlaftis is my 5. Yeah. Because past that, dude, like, I don't. Past Karlaftis, dude, like, I would have to redo my list. Probably Karlaftis, London, McDuffie, Dean, Hamilton.
McDuffie's slow 40 kind of, and lackluster combine performance. I guess. I don't,
because like I'm not taking Burks. I don't like Wilson. I'm not taking Linderbaum. I'm not taking Aquanu now. I'm not really in on Stingley's injuries. So, it's really like Hutchinson, Thibodeaux, Sauce, Walker, London for me right now are probably my top 6 for the Jets. And again, I'm not talking about tackles.
Are we sure that the Jets won't take Aquanu and then try to flip Becton?
I don't.
Because I've been hearing that.
I doubt it. You're looking.
I don't think so. I'm Joe Douglas. I'm not doing that. I'm not drafting Becton at 11. You took him over Wirfs. He had a good rookie year. right? I'm not gonna act like he was elite, but he had a good rookie year. He showed a lot of talent, and you're just because he had a freak injury week 1. Okay, yeah, maybe the weight issue has been a bit of a concern. Maybe he's a little bit too talky on social media, but I'm just gonna throw that away. I don't understand, like, and he is overly sensitive on social media. I get that, and I don't really like that. But a lot of Jets fans are so quick to want to like move on from Becton. And I saw Trevor Sikkema, who does a lot of draft work, like when they were speculating about the Tyreek Hill trade yesterday, he's like, I imagine that Becton might be in this trade package. I'm thinking, like, how did Becton lose all this value so quickly all of a sudden? I mean, you're talking about like a guy who, like, legit his rookie year was like top 10-ish left tackle in the league.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
no,
now we're
and,
just
like,
talking about how he's got like no value because he had a big freakish injury.
and you're gonna replace a player instead of filling another hole. Like, why not fill another hole? And then if Becton, shit hits the fan this year and he gets injured, whatever, he goes on a crazy Twitter rampage and they want to trade him. Okay, then find your guy next year. Like, I'm not replacing Becton with another guy. Like, Becton, we were all high on him coming out. So because he got injured for 1 year, and then he got a freak injury, we're gonna give up on the guy. Like, it's too early to draft the top 4 guy and replace Becton. But
I like Becton's film a lot better than I like Neal's film. Like, a lot better.
Oh, he blows Neal out of the water. That's not even close. But somebody asked me in a vacuum. So understand, with this vacuum, I haven't watched corner. I haven't watched tackles. I haven't watched Penning or any of the other guys. I've only watched Aquanu, Neal. I haven't watched quarterbacks. I haven't watched a lot of guys. But in a vacuum, which is just players and how good they are at their position, basically, it's Hutchinson, Sauce, Aquanu, Thibodeaux, Walker, Karlaftis, Linderbaum, Dean, Hamilton, and then I have Lloyd there, but I'll probably put London above Lloyd at this point. So that's my 10. But that being said, moving on.
I think there was another super chat that we should probably get to.
Yeah, I'm getting to all.
Okay.
Kyle, I asked you this too. What would you trade for AJ Brown? What's the max you're willing to give right now? Right now, they call, give us your best offer. We're hanging up the phone unless we accept the trade.
For AJ, I would definitely give up 10, and I wouldn't even think twice. I'd give up 10 in our the 69th pick too. Okay. I would do that.
Down. Sign me up.
Yeah.
For AJ Brown, 25-year-old guy who's one of the best top 10 receivers in the NFL, who's had no, like, people talk about like DK. Okay, maybe he's a little bit of a diva. I haven't heard any of that with AJ Brown. And you're talking about a guy who's best friends with a receiver who's on the Jets, who we think is going to be a legit starting level, if not a number 1 receiver in the NFL. So you can pair him with his best friend, 1 in 69 for him, or 10 in 69 for him, all day. Lima Bean, again, I think it's like his 17th super chat. You're my favorite scout. I'm not a scout, but I appreciate that. At least for the guys I watch. I don't know. But been watching for months. Thank you, Lima Bean. I appreciate that.
You're not a pro scout, but you are a scout.
No. It's from Afram Saminis, and I appreciate the super chat, by the way. So Proj is just, that's his, or not Proj, Lima Bean. That's his probably 8th super chat. Samini speculates AJ Brown because he's a free agent next year and Titans cap number is low next year, but we see how contracts can be restructured. Yeah. And again, they're pushing
guys
for the playoffs.
Okay, I get it. Other big name free agent receivers, but Devontae Adams, he's 30. There's all the shit with Rodgers and that whole situation. Tyreek Hill, these are different situations.
Yeah. Lima Bean making it rain again. Apparently, he just makes it rain places. So keep making it rain here. That's great. I'm never gonna ask for it, but apparently he's made up money. So appreciate you, Lima Bean. No name or a man. I don't know if he wants to call. I don't know what it is. NY Bully, another super chat. Again, you guys are absolutely murdering the super chats. Is Trayvon Walker more of a 3 technique or a 4 or a 5 or 5? Do you think Douglas would draft Thibodeaux over him given the chance?
Given his athletic makeup, you want him to be a 5 tech. I mean, you want him to be a true edge rusher that, yeah, sure, he can kick inside every now and then. But given, his athletic profile, I mean, like literally, like you're talking his height, his weight, his jumps, his 40. It's very in the Myles Garrett ballpark range. So you want him to, hopefully, if you're drafting him at 4 or in the top 5. I mean, I think it was DJ's latest mock draft had him going at like 2 or something like that. Mm-hmm. A guy who's very plugged in league circles. Do you expect him to be Myles Garrett? Maybe not, but maybe a click below. You're hoping he can get there. So, he's not a 3-tech.
No, he could play some 3-tech. Like if you want
Yeah.
to flex him in for 15% of his reps in a year, okay, fine. For like twist and stunts and things like that. But and I think Georgia overall didn't take advantage of his speed to power. Like you didn't really see him at 7 and 9 and stuff. He played really tight to the tackle, which you're not able to build up that speed to power, which is really ideal for a guy who is a bull rusher. Like you don't build up that power, in 2 steps. So I think he wasn't actually used the best way at Walker to exemplify his pass rushing capabilities. So I think he's more of a 5, but he could play inside a little bit. But it's not like JFM, where JFM is more of an inside guy who can play outside. He's an outside guy who can play inside. Kev Jada, love Kev. Wanting DK AJ Brown is like Knicks fans wanting Zion. True, but if I told you 2 days ago that the Jets may be getting Tyreek Hill as a possibility, you would probably say the same thing. So you never know.
God, man.
Never know. We'll talk about it in a little bit. How about the Jets drafting a center from Iowa?
No, I soured on that idea.
Yeah, I've soured on. If they didn't have McGovern, okay, 10th conversation with McGovern, replacing him with Linderbaum. Absolutely no way.
You listen, he's a good player. I think he'll be a good center in the league, but you watch his film, okay. The whole, he's a best center prospect I've ever scouted. Yeah, maybe, but he's still not worth that high of a pick. And there's some concerning combine numbers too.
Apparently, this is like a thing now where I hate Hamilton. I hate Hamilton at 4. I don't hate Hamilton at 10. There's a big difference. Like if they took him at 10, there's players I prefer over him, but I don't hate him. But to the people who called him generational, I think that was a massive reach. So, and it still is. Just get Mafe but isn't he more of like a 3-4 outside linebacker? Isn't he kind of light to play D end? I don't really know. Hawk. So I know Steven lives in Monmouth County. So Hawk is 20 minutes south of him. So I'm in Monmouth County too. I wonder where Hawk's at. So we're all kind of close. Kyle, moving. I'll get to the rest of the stuff too. But the next move that I thought the Jets should have made, and this is for all the people who I was talking about this, the Jets would have no room. They couldn't do it. They still couldn't do it. There's no way they can make a play for anybody. And then again, we're talking about signing a receiver for $25-30 million, whatever Tyreek Hill got. Amari Cooper for, let's just say, a 5th round pick straight up. Is it not worth it for $20 million now? Like, do you think the Jets don't have room? Because right now, if I could still do Amari Cooper for a 5th round pick, I'm doing it every single day of the week. So what are your thoughts on Amari Cooper? And I guess for the Jets perspective, they checked. Maybe they want him to renegotiate the contract, which apparently he wasn't willing to do, even though he just did it with the Browns. With that being said, maybe they were really hoping for Tyreek Hill. Didn't happen. Yeah. But if they can go to the past again, Cooper for a 5th right now in this situation we're talking about Emmanuel Sanders and trading for guys like Laviska Shenault maybe. I would take Cooper for a 5th round pick and $20 million in a second with a controllable contract going forward. You can get rid of him for pretty much nothing. So I was not happy when it happened. Or they didn't do it. I think they missed out, to be completely honest. I'm not going to lose my shit about it, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I thought the same thing, just what you said about the Tyreek thing, because how long were the Jets looking into Tyreek?
Like, I heard it was how like March long? 12th or like 14th, like in that area, like right before or right as free agency is about to kick off or was kicking off.
Okay, so if you're the Jets and you're preparing to make him the highest paid receiver in the league, you need that cap flexibility. So if you're taking on that $20 million cap hit from Amari, that really complicates things. So if that's the case, I completely agree with what Joe Douglas did, because I would hold out for the whole Tyreek situation to clear up. Because if we're talking about Tyreek versus Amari, I mean, there's really no comparison. But if that wasn't a thing, if that wasn't a factor at all, then yeah, I think you missed out, because a 5th, Amari is worth a 5th. And I know the cap hit, okay. Let's say Amari doesn't work out. You can't restructure him. Okay. Next year, bygones can be bygones. We can look to add another guy in free agency or draft another guy. Maybe whoever we did draft, young guy, he materializes into a good player. But yeah, Zach needs weapons now. So.
Yeah. And that's the thing too. Like we Lima Bean put up all these super chats, was like asking about the worst case scenario and all this stuff. And me trading a 5th round pick and $20 million for a guy who, even if you think, okay, he's a high tier 2 now, he's not a number 1, all the injuries, whatever. Like Cooper is still a really good player in the league. And if you could trade him for even a little bit of overpay, but just have that security blanket for Zach for a year or two and not have to go into the draft and force a pick at 10, force a pick at 38, force a pick at 30 or 35, or trade up back into the first round. This is exactly why we had this conversation for months, Kyle, before free agency hit. Like we were talking about guarding receiver forever for this exact reason, because of the situation we're in. Didn't get Robinson, didn't get Woods, didn't get Cooper, didn't get Tyreek Hill. Not even like a DJ Chark, or obviously not signing Christian Kirk for $35 million a year like the Jaguars did. But like this is exactly why we wanted it, and maybe they could still figure it out.
Organization, man.
You know, the only thing I had in like my notes I was going to mention, I mentioned it last year, so it's not a big thing. I'm sure you agree with me, so we just move past it. But the Jets signing both Whitehead and Reed, I think they're going to be even heavier of a zone team this year because they both thrive in zone more than man. I think that Reed is capable in man. A lot of jump splitting, a lot of hops, a lot of dropping his hands. He's capable. He has technical work to do, definitely in man coverage. So I can see there's a reason he's beat underneath and stuff like that. For sure. Deep man coverage, fine, because he can catch up his athleticism. If you're talking about a slant, you're getting into a risky ball game. I'd rather have him in zone for sure. But the next thing, Kyle, Jets signed Jacob Martin, 3-year deal, $16.5 million. I guess with incentives, base of 13.5, $6 million guaranteed. 4 sacks, 38 pressures last year, 26 years old, 6'2", 242, 9 tech specialist, edge rush, pass rush specialist. What are your thoughts on him if you watch any?
I just saw the clips that people were throwing around, you and a couple others, and I was like, whoa, okay, there's something there. He definitely kind of impressed the basic eye test, but I have not done extensive work into him yet, so I can't comment a lot. But when I saw the number and when I saw, the raw kind of skill set there, I was like, okay, I can see this and it makes sense. So I was pretty happy with that.
Yeah, I'm excited. Oh, sorry, I thought you were done. I'm excited to do that review. He's uber athlete, and he plays hard as hell. So, but continue.
Yeah, so I mean, in terms of a list of favorite, I mean, it's probably somewhere in the middle in terms of signings that I like. But yeah, the Jets need some juice at edge rusher, and they've really never had it for a long time. Even like someone like Jordan Jenkins, who he wasn't a bad player at all. Like he had
no juice though.
No juice at all. This guy's got some juice, man. Dude, so I like it.
His bend, his explosion is ridiculous. And I'm not just trying to, again, you guys saw it with all the other signings I talk about, kind of okay. I'm excited about Martin as a pass rush guy. I don't think he offers much in the run game from what I watched so far. I try to watch at least 4 games of all those guys. Like I watched 4 of every single free agent, and then I watched I finished Tomlinson, I finished Reed. But I got a good enough feeling for him. The dude has elite athleticism. For sure. So you can hone in some of his pass rush moves and widen his array. I'm excited. And again, I don't think he's ever going to be a 3-down player. I don't think he's good enough against the run. I don't think he's strong enough against the run for a 4-3 D end. But if we're talking about a guy who comes in second and long, third and long, or just third down in general, second and long, and rushes the passer and he's fresh, I like that signing. $5 million is a lot, but still, I like it. So
I mean, listen, if he's got full tank of gas and he's ready to go on third down, dude. And that's the difference of getting a quarterback sack or a quarterback hurry on third down, the most important down in football. That's worth a good $5-ish million a year. It's worth it.
And my bully Joe, what do you think about Tyreek Woolen from UTSA? Stiff in coverage, but has a good recovery speed and scored a 9.99 RAS score. Joe Douglas takes guys with high RAS scores. So if you're talking about Tyreek Woolen, 4th round type guy, that's what I think he's about. I would be with it. Like, obviously, depending on what happens at the beginning of the draft. If the draft Sauce Gardner, am I taking Tyreek Woolen too? Probably not. But depending on how the board falls, if he's there in the 4th and you haven't really grabbed the corner yet, I'm willing to take a shot on development with that RAS score, right?
I mean, I love taking guys in later rounds that have the freakish. Listen, I don't go insane for the guys with the insane athletic traits in the earlier rounds. I want to draft good football players, but when you kind of get into those later rounds, you're worried about, it's almost like taking shots out of dartboard. Like, could we develop this guy? I'm much more comfortable with doing that later. So
I didn't realize it's 8:00 and I'm still working through a half an hour regular chats. We have to fly through some of them, but super chats will always get addressed. Rick, $5 again.
Thanks, Rick.
Murdering it. It has to be the top show in terms of super chat. Which, by the way, Kyle,
in terms of number, yeah, for sure.
I'm just gonna mention this too. I know I'm popping on Jets Talk 24/7 for I think like right after the third round pick is made or something like that. Ryan's my guy, so I'm definitely doing that. But after the first round, 11, 12 o'clock at night, I'm gonna be hammered. Come on here, undoubtedly 4 o'clock in the morning stream. Second round, I might pop on right after that, or like after the second, third round, and then day 3, like rounds 4 through 7. I'm probably just gonna stream that. Like honestly, I'm gonna sit on my couch downstairs and watch it with you guys and just talk. So all 3 days of the draft, either probably after for the first 2 days, and then the whole thing for day 3, I'm gonna be live. Just throwing out there to you guys. But Rick, get in super chat.
Cool.
Yeah, Kyle, so if you want to join for any of it, I'm sure
I'll join if the people want me to join.
They do. Probably not Harold though.
Oh yeah, Harold. Yeah, he called in, didn't like me very much.
What do you guys think of Pierce? Any chance you get him at 69? I think there's a chance because is he the guy who's a really big athlete, but they didn't impress at the Senior Bowl or something like that? Like I think he's a high RS guy, but when they actually came out to watch him, like he didn't really play well. So hard question to answer, Rick, because I don't like to speak on guys I haven't really watched, So sure. But thanks for the super chat. But let me move through. Actually, I'm going to ask you a question, and then I'm going to run through some of the stuff again. Sorry if I miss it. It's just you guys can see the chat. It's hard to take all these questions and then do this the topics at the same time. Kyle, I'm going to do 2 kind of rankings with you. Top 3 favorite signings right now in order, 1 through 3. I, again, preface by saying you have to watch more. And I'm going to ask you another question after that. Top 3 something.
Okay. Reed, Conklin, and then Tomlinson.
I agree. I'm on board. Now, so if you're looking at the team in terms of primary needs versus secondary needs, which like secondary to me, like I'll just give you a position is like corner is more of a secondary need. Because if you went into the season right now and Hall and Reed are your starters, okay, you're relatively comfortable.
Can live with it.
But it's still a secondary need. Like you still want another guy there, if not a superstar there. Tight end, maybe not even a secondary need, probably like a third need. Running back's more of like a secondary need, or maybe creeping up the primary. But what are your primary, like absolutely cannot not have a starting level player at these positions going right now? Like if you had to rank them 1 through 3.
Probably receiver. I mean, we've talked about it ad nauseum tonight, right? So receiver. Let's see. Pretty solid on the line now, not quarterback. Tight end, solid now. Defense. Edge rusher, too. All right. And solid at safety now, I guess. I do want to put corner at 3. I do want to put corner at 3.
Oh, yeah. So you're 1 and 2 or what?
So I said 1 receiver. I said 2 edge rusher. Really? I want to put corner at 3. I mean, like, am I an idiot? And am I missing something?
You're definitely missing something. You got to think a little bit harder, my guy. Because corner.
You want to say? So you want to say linebacker?
Yes. Do you have more faith in Quincy Williams starting at linebacker right now, or Bryce Hall being the starting number 2 or left side corner? Bro.
Yeah, I know, but like, okay, so what do you want to do at linebacker though?
Dude, they could sign Jayon Brown to be they could sign a $4 or $5 million player. I'm better. Like to me, and it's not
Jayon Brown, Titans, Jayon Brown.
Yeah, like Quincy, Quincy Williams. Like I'm not trying to shit on the guy, but should he be a starter? No. And then past that, let's say they are running 12 personnel, 22, whatever it is. Now that third linebacker comes in is Jamie Sherwood. Like we need a linebacker. Like they absolutely need a starting level linebacker to me. So it's receiver 1, DN 2, linebacker 3, and then I think some of the other. I think the next biggest 3 in whatever order you want them. I would probably say safety at 4.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Corner at 5, and then running back at 6. But I honestly say that running back's probably higher than corner because I'm much more comfortable with Bryce Hall as the 2, obviously, and he's going to be it's starting position where running back, the second guy is not a starter. But with that being said, I think running back's honestly probably 5 because past Michael Carter, I think Kevin Coleman's a rosterable guy, but past him, there's nobody who should be on this team.
You're not going with – you don't want to give Austin Walter a good amount of carries.
If Ty Johnson, Austin Walter, or P. Ryan are your 3 and they can see legitimate time if we get an injury, that's just
P. Ryan's not making
brutal.
the roster.
Brutal.
Definitely
so
not. Yeah, I mean, I guess it would have to be linebacker. You and I, listen, Quincy's got he has those hype plays, man, where, geez, he'll get you fired up. You're watching a game and he just lays a big hit, but there's a lot of concerns with him. And Bryce Hall is definitely a better player for sure. Although you were definitely one to point out a lot of his flaws last year.
Hall?
Particularly his lack of ball skills. That's like, you watched him in college, he had good ball skills, and what the hell's happened in the pros?
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't know what they're going to do at linebacker. I know some fans, not too many, but some fans want, Bobby Wagner. It's like, yeah, big contract guy who's a vet. You kind of already got that with Mosley. So
West Coast Jets, appreciate the super chat. Again, another one. $5, definitely appreciate it. Can't wait to see Whitehead as a spy on Josh Allen and just destroy him.
Dude, Josh Allen doesn't really get destroyed by players, man.
Yeah, I was gonna say watch that a little bit because Josh Allen's bigger than Whitehead.
Dude, at the Chiefs Bills game, my brother was getting into verbal fights and almost a fist fight with some of these Chiefs fans. And every time Josh Allen had like a big run or something, my brother would be like, "That's a grown ass man. That's a grown ass man."
Uh-huh.
And then towards the end of the game, the Chiefs fans were repeating, "That's a grown ass man."
Could he contain him? Sure. Destroy him. I like Whitehead, but I'm not trying to get crazy. And if you're talking about like box player, like Jamal Adams when he was here is a better box player than Whitehead. I like Whitehead, I do, but he's $7.5 million players for a reason. He's good though, but Ed Sullivan says you can tell the one guy is like, I don't respect your opinion or your beard. So I guess I don't have a beard. So Kyle, I don't respect your opinion or your beard. just thrown out there. I'm gonna keep moving to the chat. How did this affect the draft board? Is there any like large scale positions that were massively filled for the Jets or filled in a big way that affected number 4, 10, 35, 38, etc.?
Can you please repeat your question?
How did free agency so far affect the draft board? Pretty much simply.
I mean, for me, it's because I always viewed Ekwonu as more of a guard, which I know a lot of people disagree with me about that, but now I'm signing Tomlinson and you're totally locked in to your guards now. I'm not really thinking about him at 4, and I'm pretty sure, like you said probably about 30 minutes ago, that you're not considering him anymore either. So that's quite a big effect on our first pick, right? Because we were seriously considering him there, and now we're not really considering that anymore. So that affects it in that way, but it also does affect in the way with like the receiver too. Like, okay, we've been talking about all these different scenarios with drafting receiver at 10, and then we just threw around the idea about trading up later in the first round to maybe nab a receiver. So the fact that, okay, they did shore up the offensive line a little bit, good, but the receiver is still a question mark. So I think that safety, all right, apparently they like Hamilton. All right. You signed Whitehead, but you didn't invest big money in him. And it's only 2 years anyway. So I don't think that signing him deters you from potentially taking Hamilton. They kicked the tires on Chandler Jones. That didn't work out. And even if you did, that shouldn't deter you from taking an edge rusher. So this is something I got in an argument with. I wouldn't say an argument, a respectful debate with Andrew Golden on Twitter. And I was saying that I would personally, and this was maybe like a half a day after Marcus Williams signed his big contract. And I'm not going to act like I watched a ton of Marcus Williams or whatever, but just what I'm hearing about him, what I have seen over the years, I didn't really think that he was worthy of this big break the bank type of contract. And I was just kind of thinking to myself, I'd rather pay big type of money for either Chandler Jones or Von Miller. And I know they're at the later stages of the career. I get that. But when I think about needs for the Jets and just how good of players they are in comparison to this guy, that's where I'd rather put my money. And Golden was like, well, don't you think that's overdoing it a bit, especially if you want to draft like an edge rusher at 4 or potentially trade up for Tibbs? And I was like, dude,
Yeah.
I don't think you can overdo it with edge rushers. I really don't. So,
yeah, I would honestly say I'm probably more on his side with that, just because I don't think the Jets are necessarily getting anywhere meaningful this year, and I'd rather have a long-term answer at safety than I would pay Von Miller, who one doesn't necessarily fit the scheme great, and Chandler Jones, who is 31, 32.
Why do you think Von doesn't fit the scheme great?
He's not he's 240 pounds. He's more of a D or outside linebacker than he's a D end.
Okay. Do you think
he's going to stuff the run?
Von's not bad against the run.
Is he going to stuff it like you want as a 4-3 end? I'm with Gold on that one, to be honest, but unless you want to hit on
I get your argument, and I don't really see the scheme argument too much. I mean, I think he's a player who would pretty much thrive in any scheme. But in terms of the age thing, I kind of get it a little bit. But okay, is Von going to be washed after one more year? Okay, the Jets could be making a Super Bowl push potentially in 2 years. And don't you at least want to be in the playoffs? I mean, we're talking, listen, Zach's rookie, you're talking about a rookie contract. You want to negotiate it after year 3. Josh Allen got a new deal after year 3. Pat Mahomes got a new deal after year 3. So that rookie contract, like we like to think, oh yeah, it's 5 years. But if you got a rookie quarterback who you really like, you're not negotiating in the 4th or 5th year. You're giving him a new contract after year 3.
I get what you're saying. I do. I just rather have the younger player overall, and I think we're wasting time on a topic that cannot happen. So it is what it is. But didn't Chandler Jones kind of take a dip last year too? Like he wasn't as good as he usually was. So I don't know about paying him $20 million a year. But nonetheless, the Jets were apparently in it. So somebody mentioned before that Lloyd is better than Dean. Sure, personal preference, but the film for Dean was better. Lloyd is more of a guess going forward than whatever. I don't know. Drew Pacabra, 7. London or bust for me. At 10, I'm with that. I am. I'd rather take London. If it's Wilson, I'm not going to be happy. If it's London, I'm like, okay, I get it. Is what it is. So another super chat, Tony Scaro. How would you feel about filling holes with Gilmore and Tyrann Mathieu in free agency? KT at 4, London at 10 in the draft. Kyle, what are your thoughts on that 4-player kind of package?
Yeah, filling holes with Gilmore and Mathieu, not interested in that. I mean, you're talking guys who are well into their 30s, but we're talking about defensive back play. No. I mean, we got some young guys in the secondary, and hopefully they develop, but you're going to have to give pretty decent sized money to those guys, and not really interested. KT at 4, I'm not really interested in KT at 4. Would there be other options that if the Jets went Jermaine Johnson at 4, I'd certainly be more upset with that. London at 10, that's also not ideal. So that would be horrible. This would be absolutely horrible if the Jets went this way.
I think Gilmore was much more realistic if they didn't sign Reed, just like a guy to hold the fort. But now you have Reed. I'm not putting Bryce Hall on the bench for Gilmore. I would put him on the bench for Sauce Gardner. Mathieu is, again, older player. I'd rather draft a guy in the 2nd or 3rd round who could take his lumps on the defense. Fine with that. KT at 4, sure. If the Jets are comfortable with it, if they're not, is what it is. For me right now, if you're telling me gun to my head without knowing any other information, Sauce or KT at 4, I'm taking Sauce at 4. KT rubs me the wrong way. It is what it is. Call me a hater, whatever. People are going to hate that. It's fine. But the way he speaks and you hear him mention things like, oh, well, he went to the Giants interview and he mentioned his brand three or 4 times in a 15-minute interview. And then you hear, oh, well, when the coaches come up to him to tell him what he did wrong, he stop the coach and be like, oh, I already knew. And this is from his mouth. I already know what I did wrong. Just rubs me the wrong way. I'm not going to lie. It just does. London at 10, not ideal. Would I hate it? No. It's like a very meh, okay, sure.
I want to know the context of that statement because, okay. If you say it the way you said it, I already know what I did wrong. Don't tell me. I already know. I don't need to hear it from you. That's one thing. If you come back with you're squinting your eyes oh, coach, I'm sorry. I already know what I did wrong. That's very different.
Yeah. No, very, very true. 100% context matters, but it rubs me the wrong way. It does. Am I an idiot for that? Maybe they drafted him. He's a stud and who cares about his personality? I would be glad as hell, but I'm just giving you my honest, feeling right now. It feels off. So Braden says, give me Hutch and Hamilton at 10. I'd be happy. I would sign for that any day just because of Hutch at 10 or Hutch at 4. Hamilton at 10, I could do with
Yeah,
without
yeah,
it.
I could live with that. Yeah,
But
for sure.
I would take pretty much anything at 10, for Hutch at 4. So, Joe from Ben Collins, would you give up 4 in the Steelers first? For the Steelers first and TJ Watt? How old is TJ Watt? 27, 26? How old is he?
I would say 27, 28, something like that. I'm guessing.
Jesus Christ, man. Yes.
Dude,
you're talking about the
dude,
best
you're getting,
edge rusher in the league for just a
dude,
4 probably. You're not going to get him for a 4.
Will Hutch ever get to TJ Watt's level of play? I mean, because TJ Watt, there are a lot of dumb people out there that think he's not an insane athlete. He is an insane athlete. Just look at his numbers. And as is his brother. So in terms of ceiling, I mean, I think Hutch is going to be a great player. Will he get to TJ Watt level? I mean, this dude just tied this, and I know he had an extra game, but he missed 2 games apparently last year. Yeah. But he just tied the sack record, man. Like, so you're telling me I could still keep my first round pick. I could still keep a first round pick. I just slide back and I'm getting one of the best edge rushers in the league. That's a no brainer.
Yeah. NYC Camper. Don't worry, Jets fans would have moved on from Peyton Manning after his first year. I'm assuming that's talking about Becton. I'm going to tie this into this with Becton, Kyle, because the stuff on Twitter, I'm not going to lie. It does. It doesn't bother me. But again, kind of rubs me the wrong way. Like, listen, you have however many people following you, every single tweet that's negative. It seems like he just goes to Twitter every 20 minutes and searches Becton and just responds to everything negative. And then he changes his Twitter handle to Big Bus 77. And there's people saying he's handling it the right way. That is a very wrong way to handle it to me. I'm more about shut up and work. Like, just don't respond to guys, retweet positive stuff, come out and dominate, and then go search on Twitter for those guys who are calling you out. And maybe throw a little like on a tweet for one of the negative ones. You okay, fine. But like changing your name to Big Bust, or like, do I respond to everybody? This article sucks. This film sucks. Because I just don't agree with their takes on players because they watch 5 minutes of YouTube highlights. No. So is the best way for a professional athlete to quote tweet people on Twitter who are negative and change his handle? No. So he's definitely not my favorite Jet, but if he works out, great, but the Twitter stuff is kind of, it's childish. Like, let's just be honest. So handling it the right way, that's complete bullshit to me. You just don't answer to those people, so, but I appreciate the Jet.
Handling it the right way. Not at all.
I've heard people on Twitter saying like, oh, he's handling it the right way. Like, what? That's how you handle it the right way? Quote tweet your haters. Like that's what a 15-year-old kid you cannot
show people that they're getting to you.
You're fueling
that they're bothering you. And it's so evident from his tweets that he is clearly upset about what people are saying about him. And should he be upset? Maybe to a certain extent, like maybe Jets fans aren't appreciating what he's done enough, but you can't really show that. It's just like, like if you're a basketball player in a game and literally like fans are like in your face, they're so close to you, they can almost maybe touch you at certain points. You can't get in a fan's face and yell at them, or you can't show, like if you're taking free throws, you can't show that they're in your head or something like that, because that's just going to fuel them more. So he's definitely not handling it the right way.
No, like if you see that I respond, like if I'm going to respond to all the trolls, and especially a guy who has 40,000 times the following that I do, like, is that going to fuel them or just make them like, shut up? Like, you're not going to respond to it. It's just really, really dumb.
Wait, I have to say something because someone's calling me out. Hawk, I'm not just saying, sometimes I do say some dumbass things. I'm not just saying this with TJ Watt. There are people out there on Twitter who repeatedly was, he's a white guy, he's not that athletic type of thing. Like, I'm telling you, people have said it. Maybe not someone who you would say is like a super smart person whose opinion is valuable, but I'm telling you, there are people out there that have been sleeping on TJ Watt's level of athleticism.
Yeah, but yeah, for sure. So Socrates, I'm trying to move through these quick. I'm still half an hour behind. Dude, Joe McGovern's gonna be gone in next year. He's 28, about to turning 29. Who's to say they can't extend him? So I don't think that's necessarily a lock. And why not upgrade now if he's an all-pro center prospect? He's not an all-pro center prospect, so that's pretty much why not. And he's not an all-pro. Like, Could he be? Sure. If you had a gun to your head right now, Kyle, is Linderbaum going to be an All-Pro? I think you're going to tell me no. So
Yeah, I mean, and we're talking
agree.
like there's some concerns with there's 31-inch arms and stuff.
Yeah, him holding up against guys who are 330, I just don't see how it happens, but it is what it is. And he's not scheme versatile at all. He's a center-only prospect, and when the Jets do decide to run trap, power, whatever, I can't see him moving people on down blocks. Like he's a zone-specific guy. But Todd M, completely agree. Kev Trotta, by the way, Blewett, props for going 25 hours and enjoying Ryan's stream. I think it was more like 28 or 29 hours last week. But yeah, I needed to talk to stay awake. So I'm being again not rich, just a grad student.
Hawk, you just haven't been paying attention long enough on Twitter.
Okay. Getting back to Lima Bean super chat again, $5. Not rich, just a grad student and concerned Jets fan. Want to see a modern offense for once instead of a run, pass, punt. Rex Dilfer playbook. Well, you got glimpses of what it could be with talent last year. Like the Jets to finish off the season were like really low teens or like really high 20s in terms of their offensive like efficiency, and that's without plenty of the players they added. Like you're talking about trotting out Ryan Griffin and Kenny Yeboah seeing some reps. It's much different with Uzomah and Conklin. And they're no Gronkowski or Kittle or anything like that, but they're still capable. Another good offensive lineman. You're talking about Laken Tomlinson. Or GVR to Laken Tomlinson, so
yeah.
Dior Thompson, Joe, it's not football related, but just wondering if if Monmouth University is a good reputable school. I'm thinking of transferring there for my bachelor's degree. Yeah, it's a good school. I haven't researched it. I went to Brookdale, but which is a community college. So, but yeah, sure, why not? Okay, so Kyle, I'm gonna move through again the chat. We talked about the draft board. We talked about Beckman's Twitter. Overall, right now, with not adding a starting level wide receiver and what he's done in free agency so far, what would you grade Joe Douglas?
I think it's kind of hard to give a grade so early too, because a lot of the really good value signings sometimes come in those second, third waves of free agency. But I'll say. I want to say B or B plus. Mm-hmm. Not addressing the receiver, and then I'll say B plus because he did pretty much. Oh, do you want to get into the Tyreek thing now? Because could he have done more? Like, I know he offered a package that the Chiefs were willing to accept, and I know that Tyreek apparently, and I got this from you, that he had a no trade clause.
No, I think it's like Tom Pelissero or one of those guys came out and said he had no trade clause, and then like 10 minutes later they're like, "Oh, my fault. He didn't have that in his contract." So I don't think he had a no trade clause.
Okay, so then forget that then. But could the Jets have offered a package to the point where it was significantly higher than the Dolphins, to the point where the Chiefs didn't give Tyreek that option to choose where he wants to go? Yeah, and okay, let's say that maybe Tyreek wouldn't have wanted to sign the extension with the Jets. I don't know.
No, I get it. And I'm gonna B plus with you too. If they were like legitimately, people are like, "Oh, you're crazy!" Like it brings it from a B plus to an A. But let's say right now they trade a 4th round pick for Brandon Cooks, you're looking at an A minus A. Like that's the only massive hole that I want filled. And a lot of it comes from just Zach Wilson going into his second year. If they had Matt Ryan right now, I wouldn't be as concerned with not having another legit starting receiver. And again, save your takes for the draft because you can't guarantee me that any of those guys are going to work out, and especially work out, immediately, which is what Zach needs. So B plus, the Hill thing. Listen, it was crazy. It was a crazy 45 minutes of my morning, completely shut down my entire day. And I would have loved for it to happen. Now, apparently it came out and said it was always going to be Miami. And as soon as it came out, Miami or the Jets, and it's his decision, immediately my mind goes to, well, one, Miami is right now and in the last couple of years a better team than the Jets. I get the whole Tua versus Wilson thing, which I completely agree with. Wilson has a much stronger arm. But the state taxes are the taxes in Miami versus New York, New Jersey. And he has a house in Miami or in Florida. So I was like, it's probably going to be the Dolphins. I got excited about it. But obviously it didn't happen. But for Joe Douglas, like he offered a trade package that the Dolphins accepted, and that was better than, or sorry, not the Dolphins. The Chiefs accepted, and it was apparently a little bit better than the Dolphins if you actually do the whole trade value chart. So he did enough. He was willing to give, what 2 seconds, a third for like a.
It was
fourth
35,
back
38, and 69, and then they would have got
fourth
the
back.
Chiefs 4th round.
And then you're talking about paying a receiver $25, $26, $27 million a year. Is that enough? Like, did he put enough into that? Or are you also willing to now give 10 and a little bit more? And Hill maybe says, okay, I'm going to ride it out for a year, not sign an extension. Like, I'm not trading a first round pick, a 10 and a second and a third or whatever, for Hill to maybe sign a contract here. Like, what if he told the Jets, I'm not signing a contract extension with you? If the Dolphins are still in play, like, how did he hear about the Dolphins? What went on behind the scenes? If the Jets just offered him, a first round pick right off the jump, then are the Dolphins even involved? Like, I can't tell you behind the scenes, so I don't really like to speculate on it, but he offered enough for them to accept the trade. He picked the Dolphins. I can't kill Douglas for that.
Yeah. I'd like to know all the specifics of the conversations and what exactly went on, because it doesn't seem like we have like the clearest picture. I know we have a lot of the details, but yeah, I mean, when you factor in the fact that he tried to make that big splash, and it seems like the Jets have been working on this for weeks, and that's why they signed these contracts with the cap hits the way that they did, so that they would have a big move like this. I mean, and this is probably part of the reason, like, no move on Woods and stuff. They were probably waiting on the Hill thing. And honestly, for that guy, you do wait on him. You do wait on the Chiefs to make their decision with that. So I kind of get why they would not make a move on somebody like Robert Woods, as much as I like him. I think Douglas needs at least B+. What? Sorry?
I said people are like hating on me for, like, on Twitter, like, I don't give a fuck, but like, you want Robert Woods? He's 30 years old. It's like, yeah, he's a 30-year-old receiver who, if he was healthy this year, was putting up like another 1,000-yard, or he's on a pace for another 1,000-yard season. And now we're talking about like a 5th round pick for Woods and $14 million, whatever it was this year. Now we're talking about signing guys like Emmanuel Sanders or all this stuff. Like, I was plenty fine with Woods, but I get waiting on him because of the whole health thing. So
he's a really good receiver, man. Like, I've been a big fan of him for years. When McVay took over in 2017, his offense was all the talk, and like all the film guys were really big on studying his offense. So I kind of got into studying that too. And I watched a lot of 2018 Rams film when them and the Chiefs were setting a whole bunch of, records and stuff that year. And that's the year that they had the big face off where they scored a gazillion points. You watch Robert, and listen, Cooper Kupp has obviously turned into an elite receiver, but for several years, Robert Woods was clearly the better receiver over there. He's a really good receiver. And I know, okay, he's 30 now and he's coming off an ACL tear. So big concern there. Okay. I get it. Also a really good blocker too. So that would have been a good get for the Jets if they could have gotten him. I would have been really happy with that.
Okay. So we are,
but yeah, Douglas, at least I'll give him a B+ at this current stage.
We're behind the chat. We have about 30 minutes left. So the one thing I will say with this too is, like, people are like, oh, just draft the guy. Is him willing to give up that much and that much money really saying a lot about the draft? Like the receivers, like if there was a slam dunk couple guys at 10, is he really willing to do that? Not 100% sure. But he wants to address this with a big time like ticket, because he looked into Ridley. Obviously all the gambling stuff happened. He looked into Cooper, apparently required about Cooper. We're talking about looking in, obviously being heavy in with Hill, and Hill, maybe he was always going to choose the Dolphins, probably, but he still was willing to give what he was willing to give. So I think going from that to just saying, okay, just draft the receiver is a drastic difference for me, or dramatic difference, whatever the hell I'm trying to say. So I think he'll still look to do something. We just don't really necessarily know who's out there. So we're definitely behind, which I got to catch up with. But with that being said, is there anybody that you're looking out for? Is it a Cooks if, maybe the contract negotiations stall? Is it, you're looking at guys who are due deals next year? Let's get freaking wild and talk about Terry McLaurin, DK, AJ Brown. Like, they got to do something. I don't think one of those guys is going to come, but I think Cooks is the most realistic option for a 4th round pick. But why?
I think he's really the only realistic option. I mean,
but he still might not.
I guess aside from him, DK, I mean, AJ, I really don't see that happening at all.
Yeah.
But the Seahawks have seemed to finally embrace the rebuild. So DK seems a little bit more available, and I've actually heard reports that he is actually available, whereas Samini or whoever put that out there just was kind of more so speculating.
Yeah,
and I think he was speculating just based on the fact that other guys who were due for contracts just happened to get traded. But yeah, Cook seems like the most realistic that I would actually kind of be okay and excited with. And Girth Brooks, who just did a $5 super chat, thank you, said something about acquiring Cooks and then still drafting. And maybe you only do the 1 year rental thing, and then you draft a guy like Jameson Williams, who is obviously not going to play week 1, week 2, first month or 2 of the season. I would definitely be down for that. But how high are you going to take Williams? I mean, I probably wouldn't want him before maybe late first. Would I be willing if his knee seems like it's okay? Maybe, and I really like him, I might be willing to slide back in the late first to grab him, but definitely not at 10.
Yeah, I'm going to pull that up in a little bit. I'm just so far behind the chat. But for Girth Brooks, we appreciate the super chat. But I would be obviously more than willing, one, to trade late round pick for Cooks, and then you draft Jameson Williams. Like, let's say the Jets they want that long-term answer, and then they trade up, a couple of picks to take Jameson Williams at the end of the first round. I'm more than willing to do that because I think Williams, when he's healthy, is the best receiver in this draft. So I would be willing. And then a late round guy, whoever, a Bo Melton in the 5th or 6th round. Okay, fine. Like I'm cool with that. But Kyle, before we fly through the chat, the only other thing I wanted to bring up from today that I saw was the Dan Orlovsky tweet. I don't know if you saw that.
I did, and I saw your comment.
And this is the problem because now he played quarterback in the NFL, so you got to believe him. He knows everything about everything. He played quarterback in the NFL. Just a newsflash: there are plenty of guys who played a position who know nothing about other positions. That's 100% true, and more true even than that is some of these analysts are really, really, really lazy, or they're just looking for hot takes to get clicks because that's what matters. But the fact that he comes out there and says, "quote," I don't think people understand how good the top wide receivers in this class are, which is obviously one of the lower ranked classes in the last couple of years. He says Drake London is Keyshawn Johnson. The 2 from Ohio State, Wilson and Olave, are Julio and a fast Keenan Allen. So you're talking about some of the best receivers we've seen in the last 2 decades. If that was the case, they would be picks 1, 2, and 3. Correct? Like who is Julio? Wilson's like 6 foot. Julio is a freak of nature. Wilson's Julio in what world?
Julio's 6'3" and stout, and Wilson's is Wilson even 200 pounds and he's 5'11"? I mean, and Julio is, I get these guys ran pretty fast, but I mean, Julio is just an absolute freak who tested his combine numbers are off the chart. Look at his spider graph on Mock Draftable. That was an insane comparison. Keyshawn, I mean, listen, did I know of Keyshawn and stuff? I wasn't watching him super closely back when he used to play, so I can't really comment on that. Although it Keyshawn was the number 1 overall pick in the draft, so that seems like a big stretch as well. And Keenan Allen's much bigger than Olave too, so I don't get that at all.
Keenan Allen's an elite route runner. Like Olave is not an elite route runner. He has good deep speed. I think he has good deep routes, but he's an elite route. Like, dude, and then again, now you're gonna have people in a month who are saying, "Dude, Dan Orlovsky said that Drake London is Keyshawn Johnson. You're an idiot." It's like, okay, I'm the idiot. Come on.
I mean, we're talking about like I know DK's kind of like a freak, but when we're talking about like Julio, like I can't even think of someone in terms of like freakish athletic ability who tested anywhere near him. And yeah, his film also kind of did back up his testing. Calvin Johnson, but like other than those 2 guys, like who are like you can't be throwing around player comparisons like that. I mean, it just almost seemed like he just thought of like 3 good receivers and just like, oh, these sound nice, and I'll just. How much thought did he really put into that?
But then again, you're gonna have people in a month saying we're an idiot because we disagree with Dan Orlovsky, or you have to believe Ledger Doozable, or you have to believe Bart Scott. Okay, we have to believe those guys. What happens when they have contrasting opinions, or do every single player ever played the NFL? They all agree. Like we can't have our own. Trust me, some of these guys are lazy as hell. Lazy.
Somebody said Dez. I mean, somebody said Megatron when I was asking for other really athletic receivers, and somebody said Dez, as in Dez Bryant. Dez is a beast in terms of like he played so angry,
physical. Yeah.
His jumps are really good, but his 40 was rather slow, like 4.52, and that's at Oklahoma State Pro Day. He didn't even do it at the combine. So
it was really like
Dez is kind of like freakish, but like not like Julio, Calvin Johnson type freak.
Yeah. Okay, so moving to the super chats or to the chat in general, because we have a lot. I'm being still mad about John Morton firing because we need to run the ball more regressive in order to stand a chance in the NFL. Kyle and I said that from pretty much the jump. We don't know why he was fired. We actually liked Morton a lot. So I agree with you on my being. But moving on.
It almost makes you wonder if it was something kind of personal and not really like coaching related, because he was basically excommunicated from the league. And Todd Bowles is very well respected throughout the league. So maybe something kind of shady happened. And for that reason, because like the NFL circle is so small, like all these guys know each other and they're cool with each other. And, maybe if Bowles put out a bad word, and this is all speculation, put out a bad word about him and somebody else is not willing to hire him, who the hell knows? Because as far as coaching went, he was pretty good.
And something I want to mention too about Cooks and Metcalf, I just remembered it because somebody's asking something else about a receiver. Cooks, I don't know why they would trade him either, because you have a young quarterback. He's a solid guy who gets 1,000 yards wherever he goes. In terms of Metcalf, like, okay, they're rebuilding. He's 25 years old, so unless he's not going to sign with you, like he's plenty young enough to be there for the future. But moving on, Kyle, because we have to. Lion Bean, another one for his 15th super chat. Just convinced Green being no to Hamilton for me. 10, I'm not. I won't. Can't. 4, can I? Probably not. People are really set in their ways, and he might have a good reason for it, but there's no way I'm doing it. So I'm going to fly through this because we're like 40 minutes behind in the chat, which I always freaking do. So I'm going to apologize for people I'm skipping over. People talking about DeAndre Hopkins, trade for him, Kyle. Quickly while I'm scrolling through, any comments on that? That's one I saw.
I would if I could, but what am I having to give up? I mean, he's got a huge contract. Could I get him for a second? If I can get him for a second, I would. Would you?
Yeah, for a second, for 2-3 years of Zach Wilson's development, even in a big contract, hopefully you can figure out some of the bonuses and renegotiate. Yeah, sure. It's DeAndre Hopkins. He's still really good. I don't think he's top 3 anymore, but I still think he's really, really good. But with that being said, like, why are the Cardinals doing that? Like same thing with AJ Brown. Why are the Titans going to trade him now when realistically, even if he doesn't want to sign a contract, they have him this year, next year, and they can tag him for 2 years? Like it's, I think it's probably unrealistic.
Plus, there's all this talk about, is Kyler happy and does Kyler feel appreciated in Arizona? And if you trade away Hopkins, why is Kyler going to want to resign with Arizona?
Look at what's his face. This is for the draft, Kyle. You need to be here.
I noticed that. I saw that. In my time.
Look at Rodgers right
now. All right, Joe. But you're the only one who said it, Joe.
Alan Lazard. Yeah, I guess I think he was the one who said it. But I'm trying to run through. Kevin Harry, we have one starting linebacker. Yes. Simon, yes. Joe Nelson, yes. James and Philly, yes. Yes, linebacker is 100. To me, is the next biggest of wide receiver edge. Is the next biggest need. DT is a big need. I think it's a secondary need, Drew Pacabra, but I wouldn't say it's big because, like,
they did hang on to Sheldon Rankins. So
you have Rankins. I think a part of his bonus got guaranteed. So if they were going to cut him, he'd be off the team already. So you have Rankins, you have JFM, you have Q, who are going to play most of the reps on the inside. So you're looking at a run stuffing type guy. You need more of, like, I think a later round pick or like a guy who's going to get $4 or $5 million in free agency, not like a massive need. So I would say it's more secondary need, much more of a secondary need than the other positions we were talking about. Let's see. Somebody asked me, like, gun to my head or feeling right now, who's a pick at 4, which I agree. Well, kind of, I don't know if he's saying that Texans might grab him. Gun to my head right now, I think the Jets take Sauce Gardner at 4. I think that's what's going to happen, to be honest. So, Kyle, agree with that or no?
Yeah. Apparently, they have one of their scouts having a really long conversation with him today.
J.E. cap letter, Sauce at 4, 10, Trayvon Walker, 2nd round, Christian Watson, 38, Leo Chanel, 3rd, Mechie. I'm down with all of those picks. I think maybe a 2nd and a 3rd round pick for a receiver. If they don't do anything, okay, I would be okay with that. But I really like Trayvon Walker and Sauce 4-10 is, and
I like
Watson,
that a lot.
Dude, that's top 3. We could talk about the 4th and 5th there a little bit, but I really, really like that top 3. That is killer, J.E. I would do that. Moving on, I'm at 8:09, so I am still 30 minutes behind. I'm scrolling through a lot of this really, really quick. Blewett, I forgot we have Ross Piercebacker as our backup O-line. He was pretty highly rated coming out. Anything on him? No, absolutely nothing. If he was on a different team and got cut, it's probably not saying the best about his future. That's what I'll say. This is what I saw. June the Jet, formerly June Smith. Likely? I think it's probably the most likely scenario right now. What are you feeling, Kyle? Like right now, again, shot in
You
the
just
dark.
started to scare me when you were talking about the Texans maybe taking him at 3. So
Can you imagine? Like, let's just say worst case scenario, because we don't love Johnson. Let's just say again, I'm not saying anything about Thibodeaux at all because that's for the Jets to figure out. But let's just say worst case scenario, again, say it slow, that they don't want Thibodeaux at 4 because of whatever. Let's say Walker, Hutchinson, and Sauce go 1, 2, 3. That's doomsday for me.
yeah. It's interesting how in recent weeks Walker's really kind of flown up your boards. Because just a couple weeks ago, you and I were texting, and I was talking about how, like he really kind of flashes, and I like, and this might have even been pre-combine, but you were kind of like over Thibodeaux, like
Who?
exclamation question mark,
Walker.
something like that. So like
Combine didn't help him.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like Walker, he's really kind of flown up your board recently.
Yeah, well, and again, you're gonna have the idiots in here who are, let's say there's 162, maybe it's only 2 of them. They're gonna say you only like Walker because he's a workout warrior. Kyle, you watch the video.
He's very disruptive.
Before the combine even happened, what did I say? I think he's an option at 10. So with the combine he just had, could he have moved up 6 spots for consideration at 4? I think it's likely, right? Or
Yeah.
am I crazy to not say that?
Oh yeah, man. Like, dude, okay, so we were talking Jermaine Johnson before, like, and he's got some freakish stuff. Like his 40 and his 10-yard split are in the 90-something percentiles. Okay, and he has a good broad jump too. Not such a great vert, Jermaine Johnson. So in a way, he's kind of freaky. He's got pretty good long arms, 34 inches, which is like 66 percentile.
Yeah.
But if we're talking like freakish upside, Walker's the guy, and it's not close. And in terms of, did you see enough from Walker as an edge? You'd like to see a hell of a lot more. You didn't see enough. But you could say the same thing with Jermaine Johnson, right? Like him as an edge rusher, he's just not that good right now. So if I'm taking the guy with the freakish upside, Walker, definitely.
Yeah, James Ickham or Icky, whatever, Ickham can play both every year. Someone goes down in terms of like both tackle spots or guard or whatever. You're not taking a backup at the 4th pick. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
So do not think that's happening. Moving through, I'm 20 minutes behind now. June, I answered this before, but obviously you threw it out there a couple of times. I think very, very likely. So
I missed it. You flashed it on the screen for like a split second and took it down.
Yeah, I'm just trying to. It was about how likely do you think it is that what is it called? The Jets get Sauce at 4. So moving through. Okay, I'm skipping some of your guys' stuff. I apologize for that. So let's pass.
I'm really hoping somebody wants to trade up to take Malik Willis. I'm really hoping that.
If Sauce has gone at 4, and I'm definitely disappointed. Oh, we have like a best cams.fun hot girls and boys video chat spamming in this.
Saw that all over.
Oh, aren't you a mod? Can you somebody? I did it too, but Brookdale baby, yeah. Okay, Kyle, got you. I'm sorry for the dead air time. There's so many.
That was him mocking me.
Oh, gotcha.
While you're doing that dead time, to the TJ Watt thing, so Kyle Krabs had TJ Watt really high as a draft prospect, and TJ Watt was a little raw at Wisconsin, so he was higher on him than most. But one of the reasons he had him so high was he loved what he could be, and frequently cited his numbers. So I'm pretty sure that sometimes he'll quote tweet someone every now and then. And he's like, why are people still sleeping on this guy's athleticism? Like he's not really like super uber athletic, but some people do, some idiots out there.
Yeah, I'm not going to highlight the comment because it's beyond dumb, but we have people talking about race differences between Hutchinson and Thibodeaux. And of course, Thibodeau's going to fall. Just grow up, get a life. So moving on. And should block that person because that's just stupid, dude. But we'll talk about something else. That person gets blocked because don't bring that shit in here. Talking about race, talking about football. So Linderbaum is not Maui, not Mangold. Yeah, somebody said he's elite or something like that before. Absolutely ridiculous. Hutchinson.
He's a good player. He's a good player, but you don't want to take him top 10.
Kyle, unequivocally, Hutchinson had better film than Thibodeaux. Unequivocally,
it's not even close.
Yeah, dominated.
It's really not even close.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm just trying to. That guy gets blocked for that. Yep, gets blocked. Okay. I'm not dealing with that shit. That's, come on. So moving on. I don't block a lot of people, but that deserves blocks.
Was the person insinuating that that's why you had him over, or
I don't know if it was me. I don't know who it was, but we're not talking about Hutchinson being higher rated because of his skin color. That's just absolutely ridiculous. So Girth Books, thanks for the super chat. We brought that up before. Yes. Yes, I would do it. I don't think Jameson Williams falls to the second, but we're talking about late first. Easily. I would easily. I think it's a realistic option to trade up for him. London at 4. Don't think that happens. Let's see here, Kyle.
I think DJ had him in the top 5 in his latest mock. Somebody did in their latest mock. But it kind of seems like a stretch.
Oh, Mel Kiper. Mel Kiper's a complete.
Okay, it was Mel Kiper. That seems right.
He is so out of touch. Like, who cares about what Mel Kiper thinks about anything at this point? Like,
apparently, people do.
Like, at least
I guess a lot of the old heads still like him.
At least DJ was a scout. Like I at least respect his opinion.
A scout for a team, but Mel Kiper is. I mean, like, this is his full-time gig for decades now.
And there's
so
a lot
he's
of people,
a scout, but just not.
There's a lot of people who suck at their full-time jobs. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
So, what do you say?
Yeah, no, I was going to comment, but then I realized I shouldn't say something. So,
I will definitely. People are saying we have to report them before I put them in timeout or whatever. So, Drupakabra, yes. And Orlovsky's one of them now, apparently. So, which I already thought some of this shit was off anyway, but that you deserve to get called out for that take. That I guess with that being said, again, receivers should be drafted 1, 2, and 3 in this draft because if you have a faster Keenan Allen, Keenan Allen is one of the best receivers we've seen in the NFL the last decade. Like, he's super underrated minus injuries. So yeah. Watching Georgia film 44 is all over and people are like, oh, he played on Georgia, so that means that he's not as good because there's other people around him. Like, did you see any of that, Kyle, when you watched him or when you watched what I broke down? Like, was it just because he had a free lane to the quarterback? Like, I didn't see any of that. Yeah,
we're not talking like a guy winning, like, okay, like he's wrapping around free on a stunt, and that's why he's getting pressure. No, you're talking about a guy who, if he's the picker or something, like, he's absolutely destroying the man in front of him and causing havoc. So,
yeah,
watch his film, and you're going to see, this dude is disruptive. But you could tell that he still needs a lot of work in figuring out, like pass rush plan and things like that. And like Joe said before, Georgia didn't really totally utilize his skill set because, man, if you had him as like a wide 9 every now and then and let him build up some of his speed to power, that guy, as fast as he is, 272 pounds, oh man, he would destroy some tackles.
What do you think about this one from Matthias? I always screw it up. I think it's Matthias. What about Sauce at 4, Karloff at 10?
Kyle, I'd be happy. Definitely be happy.
If you could sign a dotted line for that right now, you're doing it?
Yeah. I think you actually asked me the same question 2 weeks ago, and I said yeah.
So we're doing that. Murdog, if Thibs is there at 4 and we don't want him, it would be better board management to trade down and let someone else take him at 4 instead of standing pat and taking someone else in that spot. But what if you have Gardner as a higher rated prospect than Thibs and you trade down to 7 and then Thibs goes at 4 and then Sauce goes at 5? Like, now we're sitting there.
Oh God, if the Giants took Sauce, I'd be pissed.
Yeah, no, I don't think that people are clamoring to trade up for Thibodeaux at this point. I could be wrong, but he's not. It's not like he's like Nick Bosa or Myles Garrett or Jadeveon Clowney when he came out and he's just falling because of character concerns or people are comfortable with their organization or clamoring to trade up for him. Like, he's far off of those guys in terms of film too. Like, people just think that his film is elite, which it's not.
No, it's definitely not.
Yeah. Girth Brooks, you're the real MVP, I guess, for booting that guy. It just, dude, like, come on, bro. I don't want to comment on it more because I don't want to give it more airtime, but like,
don't.
How stupid could you be? Like, you're just stupid. That's just all it is. That was great on camera, though. Sure. When I watch, I usually do NFL Network over ESPN. I am so done with ESPN. I hate them. I really don't enjoy them or anything they do. So I'm an NFL Network guy. At least I try.
Yeah, I prefer them as well.
Okay. Kyle, this is a question for you because I definitely would, even with the concerns, maybe the slight concerns I have, which we'll call up to the chat now. If you have any other questions, throw them out. We have about 8 minutes. I got to jump off relatively early. Got something to do really early in the morning. Would you take KT at 10? So let's say they do go Sauce at 4. KT sitting there at 10 because, again, of whatever happens. I doubt it, to be completely honest, but I don't think he's there. He's sitting there at 10. Do you do it?
Probably, yes, but also does depend on who else is there because after I watch more of these respective players, I still might like Karl Loftus. And is it possible that either Walker or Karl Loftus could be there at 10 as well? And if I like one of those guys better, then I might want to take them at 10 instead of him. But yeah, taking him at 10, I'm much more cool with that than at 4.
James Mealy, I don't know if this is because of the stuff that just happened, but bye, James. Unless you're just saying goodbye to say goodbye, but if that's your reason, see ya. You can get blocked too. I couldn't care anything about such a stupid shit. So I think going defense in 1 is a mistake. You have to take a receiver. I like Wilson or Jamison Williams, the Ginja Ninja.
I don't see how you take Jamison Williams at 10.
And then he plays in November, and then Braxton Berrios is your 3. I don't see Jamison Williams at 10. And with that being said, I think Wilson isn't worth the 10th pick. I don't think London, considering who else is going to be there, is really worth the 10th pick. I'd be okay with London, but I think the more of the mistake is not going defense in round 1 because I think the board is how it's going to fall. I think the most valued players and the best players on the board at 4 and 10 will both be defensive players, but the mistake is more of them not addressing wide receiver before the draft. Like, that's the bigger mistake than not taking one at 10, right?
Yes. Yeah. Sorry. I got distracted with a work email.
Okay. Moving on. And then again, we'll bounce off in a couple minutes. Would you be mad if we took KT at 4? I wouldn't, Gursey, because I have faith in the Jets coaching staff that they're going to dig into all the stuff that we have questions about, whether side you're on the fence of, oh, who gives a shit, or, oh, I'm really concerned, take him off the board. I'm in the middle, and I'm going to put my faith in Joe Douglas. If they're comfortable with him at 4, I'm excited for the pick at 4. If he's on the board and they pass him, okay, I'm not going to be mad. So I'm playing both sides. I know Kyle wouldn't be happy with him at 4, though, right?
Yeah, but I mean, I'd definitely be. I mean, when we say mad, I mean, like, I think like furious, like, oh, I want to hurt somebody or break something. Yeah. Taking somebody like Evan Neal would probably get me to that level of frustration, whereas taking KT would not get me to that level of frustration.
Taking Evan Neal, even before we signed Lake and Tomlinson, would get me to that level. I can't with Neal. Could Karl Loftus transform like a Max Crosby? Max Crosby is probably a little bit more long than Karl Loftus, if I'm not mistaken.
He's definitely more long, and Max is definitely a good athlete too. I didn't realize how good of an athlete he was.
But Kyle, Karl Loftus is a terrible athlete, right? Like, he put up terrible testing numbers. 38-inch vertical and longer arms than Hutchinson. We can't draft him, right? Because he's just a terrible athlete.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a pretty good athlete. In case you didn't catch Joe's sarcasm.
Drupacabra says London is the best receiver by far. I actually agree with you.
Definitely, he's by far the most well-rounded.
I think I'm the most comfortable taking him at 10. I think Wilson's number 2, but Wilson is much more raw than people realize he is because, again, they don't show the bad routes on YouTube highlights. They just show the good routes. But when you actually watch the 60 plays that he runs routes or whatever, maybe not 60 because you don't run the ball, you don't pass the ball 60 times, but 30, 35, 40, then tell me. Like, watch him against press sometimes on bad refs. It's a different ball game, Wilson
is the sexier receiver.
For sure. And that's why people love him. But I'm taking London at 10 over him all day. Gun to your head, Travis Jones or Brisker at 35. Brisker, because safety is the bigger need than D tackle. So, Harold H. What's up, Harold? Harold is a big supporter, just does not like Kyle, so he just mutes it when Kyle talks.
He's not the only one.
Sauce, people probably hate me too. It is what it is. Joe Sauce at 4, best edge at 10, and then linebacker, receiver, D tackle, day 2, day 3, tight end, running back, interior offensive line, offensive tackle. Let's see. So, okay, cornerback, D end. I'm cool with that pick, especially D end. If it's Carl Loftus at 10, Walker falls there for some reason. Great. Linebackers the next biggest need. Receivers the next biggest need. You're addressing your 4 biggest needs on the team, and then DT. I'm okay with the DT. I can even argue maybe at 69 you take a really good one of the top end running backs there to pair with Michael Carter over a defensive tackle, preferably, or a safety. So I would probably say instead of defensive tackle at 69, I'm more leaning towards running back or safety than you are, Harold. But other than that, I'm bored with you. So Ali's not going to comment because you and Harold have beef.
No, I didn't. It seemed like it was geared towards you, and I didn't really have much to add anyway.
Right.
I mean, I definitely want to draft a running back, and I'd probably like to take one early, although I don't really know too much about a lot of the guys who are expected to go in 2nd, 3rd round or something like that. But you definitely need another one because Michael Carter is a little bit on the smaller side. All right. Tevin Coleman's not going to be here long term. You really don't have another guy, and you need to have multiple backs. So, yeah, they need another one. And I think a lot of those guys you can get in rounds 2 and 3 can be actually really good players.
So Gary Peters asks, what would it cost to jump back to the mid-20s for a wide receiver? So let's do the draft order. Right now, I would say that if they're really sweating who's going to take a receiver, you're looking at Green Bay at 28, Kansas City at 29. So let's say Tampa at 27. That the 27th pick is worth 680 points. Again, this isn't exact. And the Jets' 35th pick is worth 550. So we're talking about 130 point difference. So 130 is about, you're probably looking at like their pick at 111 and like a 5th. You're probably like a 4th or a 5th, or you're talking about if you're trading like 69, you could get up to, let's see, 245 plus 550, Kyle, is 795. So 795 is about the 22nd pick. So if they trade the 3rd round pick, they can move up to probably like 22, 23, or you could trade like a 4th and a 5th. They get up to like 27, 26.
That's pretty much what I said before when I was just kind of thinking out loud.
Okay.
That it would cost them their 3rd round pick to move from like 35 to in the 20s. But I thought it probably costs like another pick on top of that too, I would think. But
Kev Trotter, you a fan of the Wonderlic test? The NFL won't do it. Teams are allowed to do them. There's been plenty of players. Like, didn't Dan Marino have a really low Wonderlic test and he's still a really good quarterback? I don't put a lot of stock into that.
I know. I think I think Lamar Jackson's was pretty low. I know Frank Gore's was really, really, really low.
I think Dan Marino had a really low one too. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, he might have. I know Brady's was high. Peyton Manning's actually wasn't that high. I'll say that. Peyton Manning got like 28, which is like kind of average-ish.
I really don't even know what the scores are.
Yeah, I've looked at them before. I mean, Fitzpatrick got a really high one. I mean, I don't think that it's. And have you ever done a Wonderlic test before? I mean, it's a lot of math and it's a lot of stuff with like squares and shapes and stuff. And which shape, which pattern would work if it continues in this sequence? And I'm terrible at that type of stuff. So, I mean, I don't really know how much some of that stuff translates to football, for being honest.
Harold for GM, Brian Robinson, big and power. Yeah, I talking about like 111, something like that. I would be fine with him. I do want a bigger guy. Harold says, Kyle, we are good. We are not at war. Peace and blessings only. All right. Look at that. He's a bigger guy, you know? He's a bigger guy than you.
Truce, Harold.
Yeah, I think he was just shit on you a little bit. Hawk says, I want James Cook. He is electric, similar to MC in style. So the thing I've heard, like, I get it, Dalvin Cook's brother, but I heard from some people I trust, he's more of an outside the tackles type guy and like a pass threat scat back. I don't really think he's like a between the tackles consistent runner from what I've heard, but I don't know.
Interesting.
I think Blake Bortles had a really high Wonderlic. Exactly. And he absolutely sucked. And Marino had a low one, I believe. And he's one of the best quarterbacks to ever play in the NFL. So, okay, Kyle, let's wrap
I think
up.
the Wonderlic is becoming less and less valued by teams. Josh Allen did have a high Wonderlic.
I haven't heard that.
Darnold's was average too. You're right, CD.
I haven't heard about the Wonderlic test in years. So, yeah, it's falling off. Kyle, last word. We went right to about 9. Appreciate all this. The super chats were absolutely on fire today. So I appreciate you guys for that. 200 plus people for most of it. Appreciate that. Check out the film reviews, the draft, again, the streams. I will be here after the first round, again, nighttime. Second and third round, I'll probably be here after again. And then the rounds 4 through 7, I'll probably stream about the whole thing, or at least a good chunk of it. Maybe I'll wait until like the 5th round after the last pick of the Jets, and then we watch it together. Maybe they trade back in, whatever. That's about it for me, Kyle. Anything from you?
No, again, the super chat's much appreciated. Like it was really cool kind of seeing that. And sometimes when I tell people that I know personally that, yeah, I do a live stream with my buddy and then like I'll show it to him and they're like, people donate money? Like that's pretty cool. And it is pretty cool. So thanks a lot for that. And hopefully we get a receiver soon. I'm hoping. Anyway,
I would scream.
I didn't really get to talk about Tyreek too much, man. I was telling this to Joe. If I could just close out with this, Joe, I know you really got to go. I used to get super excited for free agency every year, and now it's really hard for me to get excited about like one specific player or whatever. But I've watched a lot of Chiefs games, just broadcast film over the years, and a lot of all 22. Tyreek is a special player, man. There's no other player in the league quite like him. Just think about that late touchdown that he had in the playoff game that I went to, right? Where he catches it and just fucking scats up the field for a touchdown, man. What he would have done for this offense would have been, and I don't know, maybe he's only 1 or 2 good years here. I don't exactly know, but that would have been perfect for Zach, man. So that really hurt not getting him.
So
I was really disappointed.
2 really, actually 3 now, because I like this comment too. Have fun with Tua. He's not going to be able to hit him down the field. I was hyped about, I meant to see, somebody mentioned, so why not be on during the picks? Because I like to enjoy them too. Like, so maybe the 4th and 5th round, I'll be on for that. Maybe you can convince me of that. First round, usually like buddies come over, we're having beers. So I'm not going to live stream like, hey, real life friends can't come over and have some beers and watch the draft. You guys are my friends too, but a little bit different when you actually know somebody. So with that, we're good, Kyle. Appreciate everybody, and I will see you soon.
All right, guys. Peace.